Just,
Councilman,
1, 2, 3.
So what prompted you to come in, Kelly?
And Kevin. What?
What prompted you to come in and see
I don't know. I sort of had this feeling like
So, are other counselors online, Jacqueline?
just Bill Humphrey.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
So folks, I'm gonna wait just a bit. We have not a quorum yet. We have 3 members of the Zoning and Planning Committee on September 11th. I'm imagining some folks stood out in the rain under umbrellas to go to the 9/11 event. So.
Thanks to the planning board members who are here. We've got a quorum, so we're good to go.
All right. Let's see. How about 2 minutes and then I'll start anyway. At least introducing people.
Marnie, did you see Jennifer was quoted as the big expert on senior housing?
I didn't see that. Where was that?
I think it was in the Globe, but maybe it was.
It was in the Globe.
It was. Oh, says the expert herself, or.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, yes, in
Yeah.
that recent article. Yes,
Right.
I did. Yes, I did.
Who
Thank
is
you.
Joint.
Yes, she was in the role, yeah. Oh, nice.
It's good to see the issues getting attention.
Right.
They're big.
Right.
How's everybody?
Great. You actually stood out in the rain?
No, they did it inside.
Where? In the firehouse?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Didn't even occur to me that that could be the case.
Yeah.
Well, you say people are on their way?
I was with Holly.
I mean, very soon?
Oh, Lee.
Mhm.
Hi, Lee.
I'm surprised I beat her here, but yeah.
Okay, so I texted the rest of the 5 members of my committee saying we don't have a quorum. So I will begin the meeting to go through introductions and so forth, and then we will have to wait on the first item because it's a public hearing, so I won't introduce any material. Councilor Oliver, before I introduce the committee, do you want to say something, or can I?
I only just have a quick question about if you know what order you're going in tonight, because if I have time, I'm gonna book it out to City Hall. And if not,
We have a public hearing on craft beverages first.
Yep,
It's first because it was noticed, so we're taking that up first.
okay, and then do you know the order of the remaining maps you might, or what order those might be?
There's only 3 maps, no, I'm gonna see who's here. But, so, Nonantum, Newton Corner, and Auburndale, and I'm not seeing Ward 4 online yet. So, I'm seeing Councilor Gentile, I'm now seeing Councilor Gentile. So, I'm gonna start the meeting now.
Yeah, understood, I got it. I just didn't know if you knew what you were,
I'm
okay,
not
don't worry about it.
I'm
I'll
not
figure it out.
sure.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, folks, welcome to the Zoning and Planning Committee meeting on September 11th, Monday. And at the beginning of the committee meeting, I'm joined at the table by Councilor Josh Krinsman from Ward 4, Councilor Allison Leary from Ward 1. I saw Lyle Baker come into the room and put his things down, Ward Councilor from Ward 7. I'm Deb Crossley, Councilor at Large from Ward 5. And others are coming from the 9/11 ceremony is my understanding. So I'll introduce them shortly. We are also joined in the room by Councilor Rick Lipoff, Vice President of the Council, and our committee clerk, Jacqueline Norton. Other committee members are on their way here, so I'll go online. We are joined by Councilor Kelly, Councilor Oliver, Councilor Gentile, Councilor Humphrey. And I'm going to turn it, and Councilor Greenberg. I'm going to turn it over to Chair Kelly Brown of the Planning Board to introduce his committee.
Thank you, Chair Crossley. I'm Kelly Brown. I'm Chair of the Planning and Development Board. I'm joined tonight by Kevin McCormick, who's Vice Chair, Peter Doringer, Josna Budharaju, Jennifer Malinsky, and Lee Breckenridge and Barney Heath ex officio. Is Amy there? Oh, Amy's there? Fantastic. And Amy Dane. Yep, thanks.
Great, you have a full house.
I guess so.
All righty, so I'm going to read the item into the record. We're starting with a 206-23, which is Councilor Lipoff requesting review, discussion, possible ordinance amendments relative to Chapter 30 zoning ordinances pertaining to craft beverage production. Amendments possible would remove prohibition on bottling alcoholic beverages and propose opportunities for other craft beverage production and accessory retail. We took this up in the middle of the summer for discussion, and there will be a brief presentation this evening, and then we'll go to public hearing. But before we do that, I did not introduce President Albright, a member of the committee who's also at large from Ward 2. I did introduce you in absentia, Council Baker.
That would have been interesting. I was, a fan of, of the committee.
So if the two other members of the committee join us during this presentation, I will wait, let folks know they're here later, but I do see that also Councilor Downs has joined us. This is a popular item. Look how many councilors we're getting here to talk about craft beverages.
And I don't use a drinking age. Carbonated but non-alcoholic beverage. I just want to point that out. Anybody's watching.
So we're joined by Zach Lamel, who is Chief of Long Range Planning, and Warren Keith, Director of the Planning Department. Mr. Lamel, would you like to take this?
And I'm going to turn it over to Joe Iadonissi, the planning associate, who's online and can go through this item, because it's probably been a little bit since we went through it.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so you're going to share your screen?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Apologies for not being able to be here tonight. I'm a little bit sick, so I don't want to spray anything
Thank you
around.
for not coming.
Yeah, of course. So, firstly, definitely want to begin with, this looks like it's showing the slide master plan.
Hold on a second, Joe. Jacqueline is turning up the volume a little bit.
Okay.
If you unshare, and then,
You can hit display settings and do it.
display settings.
That should
Yeah,
work.
up at the top, if you go to display settings, you can, there you go. Perfect.
Second? Okay.
Yep, we're all
Yeah,
set.
apologies about that. Okay. Yeah, so firstly, I don't want to take too much time because I'm sick and I know there's a lot of other menu items to get to tonight. But I want to start out with a little bit of...
Joe, I'm sorry. We are having a little trouble understanding you. Is it the volume at this end?
I think that maybe he needs to
Okay.
get closer to Mike if he can. Maybe the resolution, I think, more than.
I'll try and enunciate a little bit more. How's this?
Jacqueline, can you
Even a
fix
little
it?
bit louder,
Hold on,
Joe,
folks.
and maybe the headset.
Okay.
Or speak more
How
slowly,
about
because
now?
it's sort of muffled or something.
He's loud and clear online.
Loud and clear online. Okay, it's the room.
Okay. If there's too much difficulty, I could potentially pass it over to Zach, but I'll just try and go as slow and clear as I can. Does it sound good now?
Pretty
Yes.
good.
Okay. Okay, so a little bit of how we've gotten here is we have a permissive ordinance, so anything that we don't expressly say you're allowed to do, such as breweries, distilleries, anything like that, you're not allowed to do. The one thing that we do have on the books is a prohibition against bottling works, specifically not allowing alcoholic beverages to be a part of bottling works within our manufacturing zones, which by extension, if you're a brewer looking to locate here, you know that you can't bottle anything. It's very, very likely you're going to get caught up in the courts if you try and can anything. Maybe you're going to look somewhere else other than the city of Newton. But in the city of Newton, we do allow restaurants with liquor licenses, bars, liquor stores, places that serve alcohol. So it's not necessarily consistent, and we just don't allow that production aspect, provided we set the proper controls. What we could see for benefits from this is going to be economic from a large ability for us to fill some sort of spaces that we might want to see filled between retail, potentially first floor and VCOD, as well as those manufacturing spaces that are post-industrial that we see a lot of breweries, a lot of distilleries like to go towards. It's also something that can employ locals and can also bring benefits to adjacent businesses where those customers are also going to frequent as they come in to go to a brewery. That'll directly bring tax revenue to us as a commercial use. And it's also a space that we didn't see as socially beneficial because unlike a lot of restaurants and bars, you don't necessarily kind of have to keep it moving, to keep the business operating. You can kind of stay there. Clubs are welcome. There's a lot of added activities, run clubs, book clubs, things like that, charitable activities that breweries do. We hope that that can create a sense of community. I'll skip a look through what is allowed currently. But the main takeaway in the greater Boston area is that we would be taking a step ahead of a lot of neighboring communities. Where a lot of breweries are located now, other than the city of Boston, is where breweries, distilleries have kind of shoehorned their use into a manufacturing use, and where that town has, or city has looked at that and been okay with it. But if we allow this on the books, we might be able to preempt other surrounding communities as they look to also open up their zoning towards allowing. So this is actually what's proposed. So I will read it verbatim, at least the definition part. And that is any properly licensed establishment licensed under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, that produces and or containerize alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages for consumption and or on and or off premises. This includes, but is not limited to breweries, microbreweries, brew pubs, distilleries, wineries, meaderies, cideries, and tap rooms. And then for the standards, we have two different types. There's off-premise consumption and then on-premise consumption. So the off-premise consumption is more so aimed towards the manufacturing heavy type. And that's really the only difference in that. That only comes apart and makes a difference for how we want to set parking standards for these. But otherwise, they're very similar uses as we have them set up. And that's about it for those specific use definitions. Outdoor seating is allowed as we allow with restaurants in this proposal. And then as far as where it would be allowed, up to 10,000 square feet, and a special permit for over 10,000 square feet in business use 1 through 5 and mixed use 1 through 4, as well as permitted in manufacturing and limited manufacturing. So we wanted to make it inviting if you are somebody that wants to offer a more manufacturing heavy, a more bottling or canning heavy operation, that you put that in the manufacturing, limited manufacturing districts. Rather than going through the time and money expense of a special permit, go ahead and do that up front. And then potentially we want to see this as limited to 10,000 square feet without any possibility of a special permit in BC2 and 3. For parking, breweries, distilleries, wineries are a little bit unique in that they are a bit of a restaurant. You can come in, you can have a meal, and you can not even have a drink. They're a little bit manufacturing in that they produce their own thing on site and they have their own staff dedicated towards that. And then they're also a little bit of retail in that you have it designed where retail is allowed for cans and bottles to be sold. So this is an attempt to kind of merge those different things. And this is where that difference between the off-premise consumption and the on-premise consumption kind of comes into play here. So we have it set up for 1 parking space for every 500 square feet plus 1 for every 4 employees, which is really meant to echo those retail and manufacturing standards. And then for on-premise consumption, we have 1 for every 5 patron seats, excluding outdoor and sidewalk seats, which is meant to be closer to the restaurant type use, but a little bit less permissive as we see less turnover generally with these type of establishments. So that's all I have as far as the slideshow. I'll stop that and turn it over for any questions, unless Barney or Zach has anything else to add from the planning department as far as.
I'm guessing some folks might have some questions before we open the public hearing, and I'm going to say, unfortunately, Joe, that was actually, I heard most of it, but it was, the sound quality here isn't great. So if we ask questions that suggest we haven't been listening to, it's because we couldn't. So as anyone in the room on the committee have a Councilor Baker?
So when you described this and I looked at the language, and I don't know, can you hear me okay? Is that coming through just on this end? I didn't recall us going I thought this was going to be basically a beer, maybe a wine operation, but this now includes distilleries, which, and I have nothing against distilleries per se, but that's a different order of operation. We have them in Kentucky, where I've gone to visit a lot, but
we've heard.
It's always been.
And I have to inspect them periodically. But the question I have is just the difference in how they're licensed for by the Commonwealth and the kind of differences that are part of the regulatory structure that I thought made a distinction between types of alcohol consumption. And maybe I'm wrong here, but I've always thought there was a distinction between distilled spirits and brewed or fermented spirits. So if there is none, then the question may be moot, but I would like to know if there is a different regulatory structure.
So I'm seeing Councilor Lipoff, who introduced this item, shaking his head, so
I'll let planning take the legality piece here, but from the beginning, it's been distilleries, cideries, meaderies, which was added, which I almost forgot about that. It's always been, and I'll let planning speak to it, but you would think that a distillery, you can go to Bully Boy and taste. It's a different experience, but from the beginning, it's been all of them, but I'll let planning speak to the legality. I think it's the same.
As far as the legality, in my research on this, I spoke to the Mass Brewers Guild and a couple of people that work on the legislative side for particular breweries. And we talked a lot about the licensing piece, and I'm not that close to understanding it. It's pretty complicated in the state, but from what I understand is distilleries generally go with the farmer distiller license, breweries generally go with the farmer brewer license, even though there are different routes to get your license to serve alcohol. That's generally what they go with. From a zoning perspective, as long as they're properly licensed, is what we have this crafted as now. And it didn't make a difference as far as how we wanted the space, where we wanted to see it, how much we wanted to cap the space, what we wanted to set parking at. So we wanted to kind of leave it to the committee, to the city council, as far as, and to the public, as far as what they'd want to see. Because the law will allow for those different types of establishments, as long as they are licensed.
So,
Thank you.
just to clarify though, I thought there was a limit on the number of liquor stores that could be legally permitted, right, in each jurisdiction? And if that's the case, does that impose any kind of distinction? Because there are going to be on-premise and off-premise consumption, but off-premise consumption looks very much like a liquor store. So what do we, how do those pieces fit together? And I just don't know the answer, but I'd like to know.
Okay, so,
Well,
Zach?
and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my understanding is just a different license. As Joe was saying, there's a farmer distiller license, which I'm imagining is separate from a liquor store license. So while it might do the same function as a liquor store, my guess is if that number of licenses is probably a different cap, if there is a cap, than for liquor stores.
I guess the concern I have is that, and again, this may not be relevant for zoning, but if we have a certain number of liquor store licenses that are limited, I'm a little cautious about expanding the number by the back door going through this one, if that's the case.
Excuse me, think about it this way. Can I just jump in? Think about it this way. Every restaurant that serves liquor, this is not as much of a liquor store. There will be food sold at these premises as well. So it's like another restaurant with liquor license. It shouldn't be compared to a liquor store. You can take away, and if you don't finish your wine now in Massachusetts, you can cap it and take it away from, and take it home from a restaurant. So this is going to be serving food. They're going to be brewing. They may not be brewing. It may be a tap room which has food, and they serve the beer that they've brewed somewhere else. There's many different iterations, but it's more like a restaurant than a liquor store. Is that fair to say, Joe? That was a thumbs up from Joe.
For the record, he said yes.
I want to reserve some comments after I
Sure.
reflect on this. Okay.
Sure. Is there, yes, Councilor Princeman?
It's probably not surprising to anyone, but I have some concerns about the mandatory parking requirements. So I just
Well,
wanted.
let's talk about parking.
Well, I just want. That's funny. I wanted to double check. I think we asked Mr. Lee before we went to the public hearing, but it was within scope to remove the parking requirements as this was advertised, correct?
That was my understanding.
Yes,
Okay.
we did ask that
Okay.
question, and that
So
was
we can
the
discuss it
answer.
afterwards, but just clarifying.
Okay. Anyone else? Question, Mr. Kelly?
I had a,
I should say.
everyone says that, it's okay. I had a question about the distinction here where you could get a special permit. This is maybe a little too specialized here, but it says that if you want something larger than 10,000 square feet, which I acknowledge is pretty large, it says you have to seek a special permit, but you can only do that in mixed use, business use 1 through 5, mixed use 1 and 2, but not 3 and 4, whereas down below it says you can get your special, maybe you can make that distinction. It's, in 6.4.10C1, where it's limited to mixed use 1 and 2. I guess I didn't understand, like, I could well imagine a mixed-use 4 district, you know, having a large establishment exactly like this. And even mixed-use 3, right, there's only one of them, but, so was there rationale for that?
Zach, can you?
I'm looking. I'm not exactly sure. I guess we were typically seeing the mixed use 3 is Riverside, and the mixed use 4 is, you know, typically seen in our village centers. And maybe we were thinking we want to promote again those smaller, and really push for those smaller spaces in these areas. But Joe, if you have any thoughts, I'll let you chime in a second. But I don't see why we couldn't allow larger in excess of 10,000 square feet by special permit in mixed use 3 or mixed use 4.
Okay.
I think that's it, Jack.
Yeah,
I think for the size. Go ahead, Joe.
That was something that we went back and forth and talked with you and Jen talked about, and I don't think we had any strong opinions for or against. I think we just kind of stuck with 3 and 4 generally have smaller type of establishments, but if we want to see them in mixed use 3 and 4, then I think we're all perfectly fine with that and wouldn't recommend against it.
Just to clarify, if we want to see them at all in mixed use 3 and 4, or just if we want to allow more than 10,000 square feet in 3 and 4 without a special permit?
Or with a special permit.
Oh, just with the
With a special permit, correct.
Okay. Oh, so, okay. All right.
Larger than 10,000 square feet. That's really the key, I think.
Larger than 10,000 square feet, we might want to allow by special permit in the larger districts.
Correct.
Okay.
Good with that.
Makes sense. Okay, all right, Counselor Baker?
So again, this may be an advertising question, but it wasn't advertised, as I understood it, to expand the number of zones. If we're going to do that, I'd like to look at the map and understand what the difference is between excluding or including. Now, there are 2 different questions. One is the scope of the advertisement, and if that's the case, we can't expand it. If the advertisement is broad enough, then we can make that judgment, but I'd like to know what the impact of the judgment is.
Okay, is there someone here who can speak to the wording of the advertisement, or I don't see anyone here from the law department.
Lawrence Lee.
He's not from
No,
the law
not us,
department.
not
He's a lawyer,
Andrew
but
Lee.
not.
Attorney Lee.
Oh, that's right, that's right, Andrew Lee.
Mr. Lee, you're here so often, some people think you're a member of the staff. Okay, but I do see, Director Sisson here. Can you address this, Mr. Sisson?
I was going to speak more to the alcohol licensing piece.
Also very hard to hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to speak more to the licensing piece
Okay,
about alcohol, not the
okay.
parking.
All right,
I'd like
and I
to hear
think
that too.
I'll get back to you.
Again, just for the noticing.
Go,
I
for
mean,
the noticing.
I just ask if Andrew, Attorney Lee, can join us. But again, I think the noticing is that under 10,000 square feet in the mixed use 3 and 4 districts would be allowed. The question, I think, from Mr. Brown is that should you allow in mixed use 3 and 4 over 10,000 square feet by special permit? And I again, we can wait for Attorney Lee, but I don't think allowing more permissive by special permit would be an issue with the noticing. In my
Okay, because we already have those zones. It's already allowed in those zones. You're just talking about the extent to which, or under what conditions should we have a
But
special permit.
I
Well,
wait
the other
for.
thing is, there is, as you said, there's only one mixed use 3. And mixed use 4 doesn't exist except if it's asked for.
Yeah.
But
So
we have
we know
some,
where the 2 of them are.
but we do have them, and so a use could go in.
Yes, but that could be part of the discretion of the
Sure.
special permit, whether it's allowed or not.
Well, if it's allowed, then it has to meet the standards and assume it could go. It's just, I'd like to know where the locations are. I mean,
Okay,
there's not.
There is no, we only have 2 in Newtonville, and that's it.
yeah, that's all we have so far.
The one that mixed use 3 in Newtonville?
Mixed use 4 is in
Mixed use 4.
Newtonville,
Yeah,
and mixed use 3 is Riverside.
Riverside.
That's it.
That's it.
that's it.
Good places.
Okay, I see that Counselor Lucas has his hand up, and then I will go back to Mr. Sisson, and Then perhaps we can open the public hearing. Councilor Lucas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question. I understand that it's, I joined late and I heard a little of the presentation, but I think I heard that the special permit threshold, is a 10,000 square foot lot. And I was just wondering why we chose 10,000 and not make all of them,
No, it's 10,000 square foot of building dedicated to this use.
okay? All right, so it's not the lot size.
It's not about lot size, no.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sisson, would you like to, where are you? Are you still here? John Sisson?
Maybe you tried to get a better connection.
Yeah, you might.
It's here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
John Sisson,
Chair,
you're
is
back.
this any
Would you
better?
like to talk about licensing?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. I just wanted to speak to, I think, a comment that Councilor Baker had brought up. This is in no way a backdoor to get a license. All alcohol licenses, as I believe everyone knows, do go through the License Commission. We have, and I'm using some data that I have from January, we have 97 restaurants in Newton serving alcoholic beverages, whether it's a full liquor license or only beer and malt. We have 17 licenses available as of January. Again, this is old data. And we have 35 stores in Newton where you can, retail stores where you can purchase alcohol. We only have one beer wine license available for retail. And again, as of January, my understanding from my contacts and discussions with the ABCC is that each of these state licenses, whether it's a farmer brewer license, a brewery license, or a distiller license, there is a certain amount of retail which is allowed with the state brewer license. I think with beer, it's something like 2 6-packs or a gallon, something along those lines. So this is, I think every one of these licenses would need to go through our licensing commission, so they will be well aware of the whole picture. There's not a separate process at all.
To clarify.
Sure, of course, go ahead.
Mr. Sisson, just to clarify, we don't have any of the farmer licenses in Newton now, right?
We almost did.
Well,
We almost did. A young man was going to open in the former Burke's Ale Works in West Newton. He's run into some health issues, and I wish him a speedy recovery. But that was his plan, was to get a farmer brewer license.
Right,
And
but is
before
there-
that, I think Mr. Burke, that was what he was operating under. Although he was having his beer was being canned outside of Newton because it was illegal for him to do it inside of
So,
Newton.
but let me clarify the point I'm trying to understand. There's a limit on liquor stores right now, and a limit on the number of restaurants that can serve liquor, or not?
According to the data that I just read, we do have 17 licenses available, and I can break that down a little further. As of January, there were 12 all alcohol licenses available those are pouring licenses for restaurants, 5 wine and malt licenses available, and 0 package store, except for 1 wine and malt package store.
Right, but if you add the farmer licenses, does that increase the number of potential sale outlets for liquor or not? Or is it all a cap of whatever we've got?
My understanding, it's a separate, it's a separate license, so it's not under the same cap.
So is there any limit on those numbers?
Well, I'm not worried. Because I don't
That's not what I
imagine we're going
Your state of mind is
many
always
breweries.
important to us, but what I'm interested to know is what are we talking about in numbers?
Well, we're at 0 now. If we look at our,
understand that,
Boston,
but-
we
Worried
can
about how
That's
many
not a
we're gonna get? I mean, what's your
You know,
question?
What's
Let
the
me-
concern?
My question is, how many can we have legally beyond what we've already got? He just indicated there are a number of limits on other categories. Is there any limit on this category?
One more beer and wine.
My understanding is that the brewing licenses are not affected by the cap on these sort of strictly retail licenses.
So we could have any number that met the zoning category, is that correct?
I believe theoretically, yes.
So as opposed to other licenses where we're limited by the state, we could have an unlimited number of these other licenses, is that right?
I would find that exceedingly doubtful, but
Well,
yes.
That's not the question
Okay.
I asked, Mr.
All right.
Sisson. If you don't mind,
I wonder
that's
if
a
we could,
probability question. What I'm trying to understand is what are we enacting in terms of the limits, and that's all.
so Councilor Baker, it sounds like we might need some time to get that information.
Yeah, it'd be helpful to understand, because part of the question I have that I think the public is entitled to know is, what is the scope of the potential activity that we're permitting by this change?
So let me see if I can understand this, and I'm gonna just
Go
try before I go. This thing called a farmer's license, if I'm tracking the conversation correctly, because I might not be, is a new license that we don't have any of them right now. And your question is, how many can the city have, or how is it measured? How many can we have in each zone?
Well,
And is it, I mean, because, you're asking this because we have some number of restaurants that serve liquor, and we have liquor licenses that go out to stores that are just about liquor sales. Those are regulated. Restaurants, I don't know if restaurants that serve liquor are regulated in the same way. I know they have to get a license. But we don't have any of these right now, so is there a concern about the number that might be allowed?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to just know if because as I heard from Mr. Sisson, those categories of restaurants and beer and licenses and liquor store licenses are licensed in a certain finite number of them. You know, we've talked about.
And so are these,
And,
is the
and are
question.
these, and if not,
Okay,
then what are we talking about?
that's the
in
kind
terms
of information I think we can get, but we don't have to hassle over it right now. Let's
No, I
get to
just
the,
need to
so
understand.
now I have some hands up. I had Councilor Lipoff, Ryan, and then Larry.
Why don't I hear from the committee members first?
Okay.
Larry, Mr. Sisson said there were 17 liquor licenses available right now, is that right, Mr. Sisson?
Yes, and Madam Chair, I want to just follow up and say I'm happy to do some additional homework and present data to the committee
Okay.
On this, and I can check with Ralph Sacramone at the ABCC
Okay.
just to make sure that we have our information correctly. But yes, Councilor Ryan, we were talking about, I believe, 17 available licenses at this time, and those are pouring licenses. And just to be clear, the young man who was going to open Hi-Hat Brewing in the old Burke's Ale Works space, he was interested in getting a full liquor license because in addition to his own beverages, as most of these breweries like Trillium and Mighty Squirrel and others, they found they do have their customer base doesn't all drink beer, so they want to be able to offer cocktails, which means they do have to go to the licensing commission to obtain a full liquor license for pouring. But I'm happy to get more information, I think, to
Okay.
provide back to the.
I think
That's
Councilor Ryan.
all right, so
Councilor Ryan
I just wanted clarification on availability. So having run many restaurants and owned a couple, and in Boston, the way it's done is, so first if you wanna pour liquor or beer or wine, you have to find out first if there's a liquor license available, and sometimes in Boston there weren't. And then they tell you, yes, there's 3, there's 4, there's 17. So to me, as far as I can see, that's how many licenses are available, and that's the cap. I don't know how much more, math you gotta do on it.
Okay, I'm gonna move over to Councilor Larry and then Lipoff.
Yeah, I'm not worried either. My question is actually, I guess, kind of following up on Holly's question is, I was wondering, the price the same for the farmer's license? Is it cost the same as getting a liquor license in the city?
John can correct me on this, but it's a capacity base, is my understanding, for the farmer brewer and farmer distiller license. And my understanding would be that it's not that way for liquor stores and restaurants. So the answer is maybe. It depends on what the capacity that you're producing is.
Okay, I think we're not understanding your answer. Maybe we can't hear you well, but we don't know what it means.
It sounds like the license cost is based on how big a capacity the space has. Is that correct, Joe?
How much is produced, Councilor LeBoff?
Oh,
So
how much is
it might be a
produced,
little
okay.
bit less if you produce less, and it might be more if you
Okay, it's production because it's a brewery.
Got it.
I
Okay.
think, Madam Chair, if I could just add, I think we're talking about orders of magnitude of creating a manufacturing facility. The cost of creating a brewery is so great compared to a restaurant or a retailer that I think the cost of the license is kind of moot.
It's true.
Okay, all right, thank you. All set, Councilor Leary?
Yeah, there's no answer, I understand it's moot now, but
Yeah, okay.
I'm just wondering.
Councilor LeBoff?
Yeah, to wrap it up, 17 licenses, but whether there's a cap of 3, 5, 10 on this type of establishment, we would probably be quite lucky to get 2 or 3 of these in our city. And it's curtailed on the types of spaces available and the cost to start them. You know, I haven't gone, Waltham has 2, Somerville may have 3, I don't think they have more than that. They're very hard to put together, but when it's done right, it's done really well. He can get you those numbers, but the relevance of that, including with the fact now that we know that they often get a regular liquor license for their establishment, to me, shouldn't be a barrier for us to do what we need to do.
Okay. How about we open the public, never mind, Councilor
No,
Ryan.
after the public hearing.
Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone in the room or online who would like to speak to this item. Online, please raise your hand. Seeing none. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, that's unanimous, and I'm gonna go to
Thank you.
Kelly Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'd offer the same to the planning board to close the public hearing. Can I get
So moved.
So
I'll move it.
moved, okay, good. Can I get the ayes? Kind of.
Aye.
Here. Peter, you're up, okay, good. I think we're all there. Are you in? Okay, so I think it's unanimous, so we'll close the hearing.
Okay,
We'll plan on taking this up at our meeting separately to make our recommendation on Thursday.
okay, thank you. And Councilor Ryan, you had your hand up.
I'd like to vote on this tonight.
Okay, would you like to,
I'd
would you
like
like to move approval?
I'd like to move approval of 206-23.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there a discussion? Councilor Krinsman and then Baker.
I would like to remove the parking requirements for the same reason that I have articulated many times in the zoning, which is the establishment can decide how much parking they need. We don't need to tell them that they need a certain number of parking spaces to encourage more people to drive to these places to drink the beer. I think we need to do away with the parking requirements and let them decide how many parking spaces they need.
I'll drink to that.
Okay, so you're proposing to amend the motion, yes, to eliminate the parking requirements.
Correct.
All right, we have a new motion on the table.
Well, he has to- he
Councilor
has to move-
Baker.
I think procedurally he has to move to amend the motion if there passes, or the maker can adopt.
You're
it.
right, okay.
I'm
All
sorry.
those in favor of amending the motion for approval to eliminate the parking requirement? Any discussion on that?
Could be friendly.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, friendly
So
amendment.
you're okay changing the motion to that?
Yeah, we're on the same page.
I love it.
Okay, all right, we have a motion on the table, friendly amendment, to pass the item, but without a parking requirement. Councilor Baker.
Well, I'm not persuaded to vote for the item tonight because I don't have all the information I'd like to have. And also, I think it's wise to have a parking requirement. So I would have to vote against this if we wanted to.
Okay, any other discussion? Any other information about parking that might help to inform this amendment that might be useful either from staff or anyone? Yes?
I would just say,
Mr. Linnell.
I think we can wait for the full answer, but just in a quick search and looking at different local law firms who deal in this, it says there's not quota.
I'm sorry.
There is not quota on the farmer brewer licensing.
Oh, not
The
about
cap
parking.
or
Okay.
quota?
Not a parking, a quota on the number. So I think you
There's
can get
no
that answer.
quota on the number of
Available licenses.
Yes.
licenses that may be issued.
Yes, and I
For
think from
this type
from a
of
staff
use.
side of things, I think, maybe Director Sisson, I think echoes what we all, is that it's not a concern, I think, from the staff side.
Okay. I'm just gonna, does staff have any concern about not having a minimum parking requirement? Might be a foolish question, but I wanna ask it.
We do not. That would be,
And we know that there's at least one person here who does. And, okay, we ready to vote? All those in favor of a motion to approve this item, but without a parking requirement, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One opposed. Okay. Do you have an abstention? No? Okay. All right, we're all set. And now, we can include it in the VCOD. Well, actually not now, it has to go to full council. So we understand and your objection will be noted. And this will go to full council at our next meeting. All right, folks. Got done with the first item in 45 minutes. We have two appointments, and Jacqueline, can you tell me that they're here? We have 277-23, the appointment of Peter Leiss to the Newton Historical Commission by Her Honor the Mayor.
They are both here.
Good. The Newtonville Historical Commission for a term of office set to expire on April 19th, 2025. Mr. Leiss, would you like to join us from your online perch? And
Yep.
just for the record, we have your resume and so forth, but would you like to make a statement as to why you would like to serve the
Sure.
community in this way?
Thank you, Chairperson and committee, for the opportunity to say hello tonight. My last name, by the way, is pronounced Lease, like lease the house.
Oh, thank you.
And but often mispronounced, it's no worries. So I was honored that the mayor nominated me to join the Newton Historic Commission. And just super brief about me, I grew up in Framingham in a colonial home and have always lived in Victorian homes. In fact, I don't think I've ever lived in a house with a flat floor. And I, for many, so I have a natural interest and kind of affinity towards historic homes and architecture. And also, I lived in Austin Brighton for many years and served on many committees as a community member on the impact advisory groups, where representing the community in large redevelopment projects and trying to get the voice of the community better represented in those projects. Then lived in Newton the last 5 or 6 years or so, and professionally, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker Newton in Newton Center. And so what I would bring to the Historic Commission is sort of the multiple perspectives of history and preservation and architecture, but also I get to be in many renovated and new homes as I help people work out their residential housing goals. And so I also understand that there are times where things need to be changed and modernized. So I think I bring that dual perspective and
appreciate the opportunity to contribute more to Newton, and I know I'm gonna learn a lot from the process. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for stepping forward. President Albright, I see you had your hand up.
So, Mr. Lees, I want to thank you very much for being willing to serve on the commission. And as you are a member of my ward, I would be glad to move approval.
All right, Councilor Ryan.
Yeah, I have a question for you about, since you're a real estate broker, about reuse of historic buildings instead of tearing them apart, not necessarily, landmark, but, older buildings, the reuse of them instead of tearing them down, renovation.
What's the question?
Well,
Right, so
how do
what's
you
the
feel
question?
on that as opposed to the massive number of tear downs that go on in this city right now of mostly affordable houses? And, we have a lot of, older Victorians that could be split up or even just renovated, instead of being torn down. And I'm just asking this from a real estate broker standpoint.
Right. My personal perspective is if there's, no one wants to see an empty building. For instance, CVS in Newtonville has been empty for, since they left it. No one likes to see empty in a community. So reuse, I'm definitely all for. In terms of appropriate reuse, there's certainly times when a facade of the building can properly be preserved and you can repurpose the inside and maybe the outside for something new and modern. But there are also other times where that's just not feasible or practical, whether it be stairs for folks that can't do stairs or whatever it might be. So it's all case by case dependent, and I would be listening to the proponents of each project and judge each one on its merits.
What's that? Yeah, thank you very much. So we have a motion on the table to approve this appointment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay, we have one abstention. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting and talk about other things.
Well, I learned a lot about breweries and the like this evening already, so
yes,
thank you.
Right. You're welcome. All right, the next item is 290-23, the appointment of Richard Alfred to the Auburndale Historic District Commission by her honor the mayor for a term of office set to expire September 18th, 2026. Mr. Alfred, are you with us?
I sure am.
Great, and
I've been with you through the whole brewery discussion, and
excellent.
like my predecessor here, I
Thirsty?
learned a lot about breweries.
Yeah, great to have you with us. Would you like to just make a statement about your interest in serving in this way?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for inviting me to this meeting.
Whoops.
What just happened?
Somebody else spoke. If everyone else could mute to give Mr. Alfred a chance to speak. Thank you.
My wife and I have lived in Newton for 35 years, since 1988, in the same 1887 Victorian house in Auburndale. And we have restored that house rather lovingly, I will have to say, over the past 35 years. During the 35 years, I was also a member of the school committee, actually, and served with Councilor and President Albright. So I've been deeply involved in Newton and interested in Newton politics, for better or worse, for a long time. I was one of the original members of the Auburndale Historic District Commission when it was formed. I think that was in like 2004. I'm not sure exactly. And I was originally a full member. I had to change that status, and the mayor asked me to change that status a number of years later because my job requirements took me out of town, and I was unable, well, a lot of the time, so I was unable to attend many commission meetings, which were then all in person. It was pre-COVID, so it was well before we had remote meetings. So I went to an alternate status. And I held that status for a number of years, and then I retired, and after some time spent in France with my wife, we returned, and I have attended just about every meeting of the commission over the last couple of years, say. I am very interested in the issues that come before the commission, and I have actively participated in our commission meetings. The issue of development in Auburndale is a complicated one and an active one right now, and specifically in the Auburndale Historic District itself. So professionally, I was a lawyer and a partner I am a lawyer and was a partner in a large international law firm. And that's what took me out of town for many years, often for many years. So I'm not sure what else to say. I'm happy to take questions, but I am honored and excited by the opportunity to regain my status as a full member of the commission.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your willingness to serve, and I think Councilor Krinsman, who is on the committee from Ward 4, would like to speak.
I would, thank you, Madam Chair. I think Mr. Alfred obviously has incredible experience, applicable experience. I think he would be a tremendous asset to the commission. I should also mention that he is a cousin of mine. So in the interest of full disclosure, there is a familiar relationship. I don't believe it violates any state ethics laws or any conflict of interest. It's distant enough. But with all that said, I would like to move approval.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve on the table. President Albright.
So I would just say that the Auburndale Historic Commission is lucky to have Mr. Alfred, as he told you, having been, I think we sat next to each other on the school committee for some reason. I don't know why, 4 and 2 did, but we did.
Having trouble hearing you, Susan. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that you're a great guy.
All right. I've heard you. Thank you.
And I was going to fight Councilor Krinsman, but I know he belongs to your ward, so.
There you go. Okay. I see we have Councilor Baker and then Councilor Markowitz.
I'll yield to Councilor Markowitz.
Okay. Councilor Markowitz.
Thank you, President Emeritus. So I know Mr. Alfred, talked to him many times over the years. I've actually been over his house, and while I'm not related to him, I noticed in a visit that his family and my family have the same china.
That qualifies.
And fellow Francophile, I couldn't be
All right, let's hear. Your volume's a little low, I think, Chris.
I hope this won't taint your candidacy, but Mr. Alfred.
I wholeheartedly support his candidacy. I think he lives right in the heart of the historic district in Auburndale. He's obviously very attuned to what goes on there, and there always is activity there. So I'll just add my support for his candidacy here.
Thank you very much, Councilor Baker.
I'm delighted he's willing to come back and serve, and then again, the interest of full disclosure, I used to work for the law firm in which he was a partner after I left, so I don't think that qualifies for any conflict.
All right, seeing no conflicts and having a motion on the table, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That was unanimous. Again, Mr. Alfred, thank you so much for stepping forward to serve. And all right, it's 8 o'clock, and we have 3 villages to go through. Let me just read the docket items into the record. Item 3822 is request for discussion and amendments to the zoning ordinance and zoning map regarding village center districts. Item 3922 is requesting discussion on state guidance for implementing the housing choice bill. We went through all the 3 villages last session to consider all amendments that had been put forward as of that time. Those which earned a counselor's motion were taken up and discussed and voted, straw votes. And we will continue that process. So do folks have any preference? Otherwise, we have, I'll tell you, we have Auburndale, Nonantum, and Newton Corner. Let's
I
go
have a couple
alphabetically.
questions.
Is that all right? Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Council Wright.
So, one of the things that we discussed a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, which planning was gonna get back to us on, is usable open space in the definition and what we're gonna use for MRT. And I was wondering if there's anything update on that.
I think the plan is to use the definition usable open space for MRT and use the term beneficial open space for VC2 and VC3.
Okay. And what was it set at?
For MRT,
Yes.
I think the committee voted on 35%.
Okay. And then the next thing, I have a question, just a clarification. We voted a 45 minimum frontage in MRT. Is there a minimum frontage in VC2 or VC3?
There was not one voted on.
No, there was no
So, no.
proposal to minimize, to have.
Okay, I just want that clarification. And last one, has the city submitted our plan to require first floor retail buildings in the MBTA count?
No.
And when is that gonna be happen?
The question is, couldn't hear the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Has the city submitted our plan to require first floor retail? We need to submit it to the state, and I think we're close to the deadline for
We are close.
qualifying.
I think we need to finish. You need to decide what is in and is not in, and then we can go forward.
Well, I think just putting it all out there, I mean, it's what we have proposed, and,
I think after this meeting, we will be ready to go with our submission.
so the submission will be by the end of the week?
I cannot give you that answer.
Okay.
I think we're in close contact with the state, formerly known as DHCD, about all things.
Because there, I think there's, is it a 90-day or 60-day?
There is a deadline.
It's a
I
90?
imagine a bunch of the rapid transit communities will be pushing up against that deadline that they made.
And has the form been available?
I haven't checked this week.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
Just so people understand, what Councilor Wright is talking about is the state changed the rules recently to allow us to count the unit potential, the unit capacity above retail and restaurants and so forth, where we are requiring active uses on the first floor. And in order to confirm that we are allowed to do that, the state is requiring the cities and towns to apply. As of our last meeting, that form, which was last Thursday, the forms, the state compliance forms, were not even available. So although they specified a 90-day turnaround, you know, the communities were waiting for the state, at least as of last Thursday night. So I don't think anyone's particularly concerned about the state's deadline. If the state doesn't turn around, provide the forms and the application materials, then nobody can apply, and I'm sure the state isn't going to let that interfere with a program that they want. So I don't think it's a concern, but I just think it's important though for us to be clear with the audience who's listening and may not understand what we're talking about. So the work we have before us tonight, we'll start with Auburndale, and we all have our maps. If you don't have them in front of you, there's some additional copies on the glass table behind me. Auburndale, there's a number of proposed changes. I'll remind folks, we may have some different people here tonight, certainly than other nights. Oh, actually, at first I want to say that during the presentation on craft breweries, we were joined by the rest of the committee, which is Councilor Danberg, Councilor Ryan, and Councilor Wright. All right, that taken care of. How we move through the villages over the last several meetings is from the outside in generally, looking at the MRT zone, the least dense zone, and then moving into the village center, looking at the VC2 and then VC3. Anything in green indicates, if it's solid green, it's MRT that is proposed in version 2. If it's a green outline, it's a proposal to expand the MRT or change a VC2 to an MRT. And if it's in blue, that is the VC2 zone, the 3.5-story zone. If it's solid, and if it's proposed to be changed or added, in this case, it's a blue outline. And then red is the VC3 zone as proposed. As proposed in version 2, it's solid. As proposed as an outline, it's proposed to be a change from another zone. And if you'll note in the Auburndale map, although the committee voted by straw vote to eliminate VC1 in favor of MRT, and the only place on the map that it had been proposed, which was along Route 9, there are some proposals to use it in the Auburndale map. So the committee has not been interested generally in expanding the MRT zone, but I will hear from the, if this is from the ward councilors, I'll hear from anyone about the potential of expanding the MRT zone in this district first. Some of these proposals have come from community groups and so forth, and so if there's no councilor who wants to put it forward as an amendment, we will assume that it is not going to happen. So, is there such a proposal? Not in the room, and I don't see anyone's hand up. So, that was easy. The proposal to expand the MRT zone, both north and south of Auburndale, is taken off the table. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so the rest of the MRT zone that's proposed is, Auburndale is one of our smaller districts. And maybe it's clarifying for people to understand that in order to be part of the, even though this is near the T, it's like right on top of the commuter rail, there's not, so far, there's not 5 acres of contiguous land area, so it cannot be used in the compliance formula with MBTA communities.
Is that with the new rules allowing
Yes.
first floor retail? Because before it wasn't, because you didn't allow first floor retail buildings to be involved.
No, irrespective of that, it doesn't have to do with that, it has to do with the land area, not with the use, correct?
Correct. And,
Yep.
yeah, we can talk about that more later if you want.
Okay, so, and there is a proposal to expand the VC2 area also, and we can take that up next. I don't know that that gives the acreage, because I understood that the acreage as proposed in version 2 was 3 acres, not 5 acres. Is that correct?
We can't count any lots that require special permit. There's a lot of bigger lots.
Right.
So you'd have to, when you take all those out, And then with the new rules, you can count units in mixed use, but you can't count land area, so we're not getting a bonus, we're not getting the addition there. It's a very, the state made their rules, so.
So there was a large VC2 lot, and I'm not sure about some of the other ones, but understand that. So those were always holes in the map if there's a lot that requires a special permit size.
After the committee makes all of its decisions, we're gonna redo
Of
all
course,
that.
of course. Just with those things in mind, there is a proposal to expand VC2 to the west of Auburndale Center, across from the T. Is anyone wanting to put that forward as an amendment? I can't see. Councilor Gentile. Councilor Gentile?
I had actually raised my hand because I wanted to just make a comment on the 5-acre, contiguous area. I actually had a discussion with Mr. Lamel with Zach the other day, because my thinking is that, if we're creating housing, it would be good if we could create it in such a way that the units would count. And we looked at a number of different possibilities, but we kept running into either a parking lot that was owned by the city, or if we stretched it out down towards the Star Market Shores parking lot, that would give us the land, but that parking lot is too large to be able to be counted. So we did look at it, didn't spend hours, but we tried some, different ideas, that especially that block that's, right in the middle of Auburndale. But if anybody, right there, but if anybody has an idea how to do it, I certainly would be interested in hearing it. But we got to a little over 3 acres, but not close to 5.
Okay, thank you. Well, we've already rejected the notion of expanding the MRT district, but no one's put that forward as wanting to add area to this, this village. And I'm so far, since you're not raising your hand to raise a motion to accept the expansion of VC2 to the west, which I imagine is a fair amount of residential area, I'm not sure that, unless anybody has an idea, and Councilor Krinsman is shaking his head, no, nobody has an idea about how to do this. Do you? So I hear that you went and visited or discussed with Zach. Do you have, but I'm not hearing that you have a proposal.
Are you asking all 3 councilors?
Well, I'm asking you at the moment, but any of the Ward 4 councilors can raise their
So
hands.
any kind of proposals?
You said you're interested in a proposal to expand the land area of the district, but that you didn't come up with one in your discussion with Mr. Lamel. So
Correct.
I'm taking that to mean you don't have a proposal to expand the district.
Correct. We do have other proposals, but
Okay. Sure, but I'm gonna call on Councilor Krinsman first.
I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure it wasn't from any of the Ward 4 councilors, the proposed expansion of VC2 to the west behind the Auburndale Library there. So I don't think any of us are putting that forward.
Okay, so no one's putting forward the expansion of the district by proposing VC2 to the west there. That's correct, also for you, Councilor Markowitz.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so just so we can move this along and not, we'll get to everybody's amendments. I'm gonna take that off the table.
Can I just ask, which block has the post office? Is it the block is the MRT or the VC2?
Which?
Yeah.
Councilor Krinsman, can you show where the post office is?
The post office is,
sorry.
It's on Ash Street, right?
Isn't it?
No.
No, it's on the corner of
No.
Melrose and Cobb.
yeah, corner, yeah, there it is, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. Okay.
that's not it.
That's not it.
That's not it, 2120, 2122,
Loading,
that's it.
it's loading, computer, slow, sorry.
Okay, so that's the post office, and that's proposed as VC2, but let's go back so we can finish, so we can move there and not leave stuff behind. I'm thinking, but I wanna be sure that the lot that is proposed as MRT on Commonwealth and Ash, that corner across from the one we just rejected, it's proposed to upzone it to VC2, and Councilor Prince was shaking his head. I'm thinking that was part of what was going on across the street, so that there's nobody proposing to do that on the council, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll take that one off the table too, which means it goes back to its original proposal of MRT. Okay, so now if we go into the VC2 lots,
Can we not do this by address, like go down?
we might be able to do it by area as we've been doing, but I will to say the street name. So,
I'd like to be very specific about where we are.
of course. So I'd like to start with the lots that are on Melrose Street, where they're sort of in the middle of the VC2 area that's solid, that's part of the version 2. But there's-
264, 268.
Thank you. And then there's another lot
27,
tangential to those, off the side street. Is that a proposal from one of the Ward 4 councilors? It's a proposal to downzone the VC2 district along Melrose Street, in the middle of the VC2 area that no one has touched. Where did that come from?
Was that proposed as, I'm looking at my sheet here now, I'm looking at the street, excuse me, will I?
Yeah, Lenny, I think these are some of the parcels you were talking about. They're currently
Yeah,
proposed on
Josh,
the floor as
I'm
VC2, and the
trying to get
proposal
the
from
numbers
someone is to
straight,
take it to
because
MRT.
I'm trying to get the numbers straight because those are a lot of small lots, there's a lot of small houses on those lots.
There's just 2 parcels, Councilor Markowitz, on Melrose Street that are proposed to be in between VC2
Those are behind
designations.
the post office,
Yeah, next to the post office, south of the post office.
behind the post office, I'm looking at the numbers here. And one was proposed as a,
Can you speak up, Councilor Markowitz?
is that 26466?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
That's 260, so that was proposed as a VC2, and I had proposed it as an MRT. I believe Councilor Gentile has talked about just leaving it the way it is, which I think is currently an MR1. Those are small houses on small lots. In fact, this is true of Melrose Street heading south, all right, in other words, towards Auburn Street, heading south. You've got several small lots there. You also have a street called Melrose Ave, not Melrose Street, Melrose Ave. All of those tend to be very small lots with existing 2-family houses on them, with the exception of one that's a small apartment building. Some of them are condos, some of them are houses. They represent, our concern about upzoning that is that right now they actually represent relatively affordable housing in the area, and they also transition or within the context of the streetscape across the street from there and so forth, fit in the size and scale that they are right now. But they are multi-unit dwellings, and that's why I proposed what I proposed. So I was about MRT, even leaving it the way it is would be the way to go there. If you saw the houses, I wish we had a picture. If you saw the houses and the lots, they're very small.
Are we in the Google Maps? So we're looking at Google now.
Going the right way. Okay, there's one right there. So that's one of them right there. That sort of brown house, and then
How
the
many
other one.
units are in them?
2. And the one next to it, I believe, are new houses. if you just go up the street, you know, it's worth, Mr. Lamel, it's worth going up just to show the street. You know, to give you context of what that's basically a neighborhood of 2-family houses until you get to the Melrose Arms, which is, you know, right behind the bakery, where you've got an existing, very affordable, and I know this for a fact because I know people who live there, and I know their economic situation, so very affordable, small apartment building there. It's just to the right of the center of the screen right now. So that's a 2-family, 3-family, small apartment building neighborhood there. Some of the buildings are new, as they are across the street, except for Turtle Lane, which is, some of you may still be on the council when that gets finished. But, you know, it's generally, inshallah, as they say in Turkish, if God wills it. But, you know, it's just to put a larger scale building there, a VC2, and I think one of them, even a VC3 going back towards Auburn Street, just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I wanted to make one intro statement, though, Chair, you did a good job, I think, of overviewing what was going on. I appreciate that. You know, one thing that's always kind of concerned me about all the proposals for Auburndale is that, you know, it's served by commuter rail. I used to take commuter rail. Now that I'm retired from that first career, I don't take it downtown anymore. When I was checking the schedule, it looks like the frequency was never great during the day, but I think a lot of it's like at a 2-hour gap. So I was trying to understand the logic to support, if in fact this is a transportation-enabled kind of upzoning initiative, trying to understand that relative to some of the other areas that have Green Line service, which can run as frequently as, 12 minutes apart, 15 minutes apart, that weren't as similarly upzoned. So I was just trying to get what the rationale was for that, because I don't think these are particularly, there's transit here, but it isn't good. Even the express bus that runs on Comm Ave and through Waltham doesn't run a lot of the time. Doesn't run out of peak hours, and it doesn't run on weekends. So just kind of a sense of who, I don't know who made the assignments.
All right, you get the picture. Can we speak to that, or Councilor Gentile, do you want to speak before we try to have that discussion?
Yes, because first of all, I don't have to tell members of the committee how involved this is and how there is an awful lot to learn and to keep straight. And I've been trying, but I'm learning all the time. And can we put back the map that has the actual numbers of the properties? Now, I believe that Chris agrees with me on this, but he can certainly speak for himself. The specific action that I would like to see is, if you start where the hand is, 264, 266 Melrose, 268, 27-29 Melrose Ave, 278 Melrose Street, 280, 82, 284. If you cross over the street to 267, 261 Melrose, those are all, to me, clearly residential properties. As Chris said, most of them are 2 units. There's one single family, which I think is 278, but it's a single family home, and then there's a 3-family. And I believe that those should remain as residential. They work fine now. And what I would suggest that we do, and again, I think Chris is with me on this, I don't know, I've talked to Josh a little bit about it, is that those should be removed from the overlay district, which would leave them as zoned currently as they are, which is either MR1 or MR2. They're residential units, and they should just stay that way. They fit well. You look at them, you say, that building makes sense on that property, and they all are multi-units, except for the one, single family. To give you the whole picture, there are 5 units on Commonwealth Ave that are all 2 families, and I would suggest that those be removed from the overlay district and remain 2 families. and then there are 2 units on Ash Street. And I think that those are all clearly residential units. There is plenty of VC3 and VC2 proposed in Auburndale Square. We don't need to include these units. They should remain clearly residential 2-unit structures like the overwhelming majority of them are.
So, okay, so Counselor Krinsman, do you wanna add?
So I understand what Councilor Gentile is saying, and I understand what Councilor Markowitz is saying. My sense on this is that people are happy with the current use of the property, but if we were to omit them from the plan, it creates a hole where MRT, to me, would make sense because, for example, going from 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 units is much more palatable, it's a much more gradual increase. I actually like that they're multifamily at the moment, and that's what makes them conducive to the MRT. In my thinking, is a good step down from the VCs that are adjacent.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, I'm trying to follow, because it's not my neck of the woods, but, I think what I heard you say is it makes sense for you to have these properties that, Counselor Markowitz outlined, but also the properties that Counselor Gentile outlined as MRT.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I think Councilor Gentile's preference was to remove them. Councilor Markowitz started with some of them as MRT, but I think Councilor Markowitz also said he would understand removing them as well. My preference would be to go to MRT on the parcels that are highlighted, yeah.
Okay, so.
Which is some of them already, but.
So we'll probably vote these in pieces. We have some clear proposals from Counselor Markowitz. Others are, we can vote still tonight because they're being proposed tonight by Counselor Gentile. Everybody knows at the table, but Counselor Gentile, the scale of what's allowed in MRT is intended to be at the scale of what we see in our neighborhoods. It just, if you choose to use, if you're already a big 2-family in good shape, you're probably not gonna do anything anyway, certainly not for a very long time. But it provides the option to use that zone in the future. And as Counselor Krinsman said, it does, then you wouldn't have a hole in the fabric of this zoning plan. And these properties would, in the future, be able to be 3 units if they could fit them. Some of those tiny lots you probably can't do anything anyway, but as they are, because they're too small to redevelop as more than 2 units.
The size of the lots, I think, is more of a constraint with all the, everything that goes with the MRT zone than any of the other conditions.
But I'll just say for myself, since I'll hand it over to Councilor Leary, I have no problem in reducing the scale of what's allowed to MRT on the lots that have been outlined. Councilor Leary?
Well, the point of MRT also is to facilitate a smaller scale of units and to discourage tear downs. So I think it would be preferable to just leave it at MR. So that's how I see it. I think it would actually protect what's there better than putting it in MR2.
So as Councilor Gentile, as you said, there's a lot of pieces to this, and the MRT zone has 2 options. And this may just be clear, but I'll say it again anyhow, because I'm always reminding myself of all these pieces. And there's a huge incentive in the MRT zone to keep what exists and add to it, to renovate and have adaptive reuse, but just allow more units if they fit. Anybody else? I think I'd like to take this first, the first proposal before us from Counselor Markowitz. Let's take that first. And it is to take those 4 lots on Melrose, it's 3 on Melrose and the one behind them on the.
Can we just give the numbers? Can we just go back to the numbers?
How about I highlight them?
And highlight them
on here.
It's much better just to go through all down the addresses.
Well, actually, I'm a visual learner, I need the map.
No,
We should use it.
Go to the right of 27, 29, we don't want those other ones. Go to the right, that one.
just that one, yeah,
Yep, right there.
yep.
Yep.
Is there nothing?
And the ones south of Melrose Ave, take those out for right now. Take those out, right there, south of Melrose Ave, the 4 lots, take those out.
These,
Right, we're not
You
we're
don't
not
want-
voting those at the
No.
moment.
okay,
Okay.
so
You want those 4 that are north of Melrose Ave.
Is there anything on that lot that's the furthest?
this,
It may not be a buildable lot.
it is.
Well, it will be
it is-
now.
It is a parking lot.
It's a parking lot. And what's adjacent to it, to the right is a parking lot also?
Yeah, but it's
That's the
50
city.
feet frontage, so
The
it
city
would
lot.
be able to,
Interesting.
build on it.
I think to the right of that is what's omitted from the map, because that's the city lot.
These are, yeah, this is the city
That's
lot.
the city lot.
Oh, that's the city lot there,
This
sorry.
is
These,
like another
these are,
vacant
these
lot.
are privately owned,
But it's all parking.
but it's all parking.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So-
we have 3 lots.
Two,
For Jacqueline's sake, can you read those numbers? Cause I can't read them from here. 264,
266
and 27, 29,
and
Okay,
268.
and 268.
And 21
268.
Melrose Ave, that's the unmarked one.
That one, Zach?
I will get it if that's what the committee
if
wants.
it's 21 Melrose Ave, we got it. Okay,
Yep.
so Jacqueline has the numbers. All those we have a motion on the table from Counselor Markowitz to, reduce these to MRT. All those in favor of changing the zone to MRT, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the committee is unanimous on that, Counselor Markowitz. Counselor Gentile, do you wanna make a further motion?
278 is a single family. Again, can we go back to the numbered? Well, yeah, so 278 is a single family. 280 and 282 is a 2-family. They're the same, they're the same kinds of properties as the ones that were just changed. 284 is a 3-family, I believe. And I would suggest that those be the same as the other units that you just changed. But again, I don't agree with the MRT. I think that probably the best thing is do what you guys want to do, and I'll just propose my changes to the full council. Again, I don't believe, to answer everybody's question about, my concern is that, these residential units that are 1-2 families, and then one person decides that, they're gonna tear it down and, build, it's the only way that they can fit in 4 units, and now all of a sudden you got a 4-unit building next to you that's been either a 1 or 2 unit. I just don't think it's fair to people that move there with the understanding that what was there was all that, could be built and no more units, so, anyway, I'm not gonna convince anybody, so I'll take my chances, I guess, with the full council. And it's the same thing on the other side of Melrose Street. That 261's a brand new, beautiful building, 2-unit condominium.
Where's
And,
261?
and 267 is the one that abuts Turtle Lane. Those I see them all as being the same, and I would think that they would be all zoned the same.
So,
So let me ask you,
thank you.
so
They
if I
are all
may.
zoned the same. They're all zoned MRT. Counselor Lipoff?
I was just saying, won't 2 beautiful brand new condos stay that way? I mean, nobody's
Sure.
gonna do anything to it. And I just wanna go on record saying I have a real problem. I had a problem last time I was here with another neighborhood and another set of counselors trying to cherry pick properties out. I think that we have to be fair to how we plan this and not snake and zigzag and pull out certain properties. The underlying zoning is always there. I just think we gotta be careful playing that game.
I understand what we're trying, I think what the committee saw here, I'll speak for myself, but anybody else can contradict or agree, is that you've got small lots, they're already heavily developed, They're not gonna, you're
They're
right,
not
they're
gonna
not
do
gonna go
anything.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is why I wouldn't remove them from the district
Several reasons,
entirely
obviously, yeah.
and keep it as MRT. There's, the only other way to develop these sites is probably would be to put them all together as a site. To go into the VC3 category, or it actually was VC2.
Madam
and
Chair,
that's-
can I just respond? No one's trying to cherry pick anything. There's a difference to me between commercial properties and residential properties. In the areas in Auburndale Square that are being recommended to be upzoning, the stretch of Auburn Street across from the commuter rail, down Lexington, on both sides of Lexington, and then along Comm Ave to the post office, those are all commercial buildings and commercial uses. And if you're gonna upzone something, it makes sense to me to do it there. But the areas that I am talking about, they're all residential units, whether on that section of Melrose Street on both sides, and also on Comm Ave, the 5 units between Melrose and what used to be Corpus Christi Church. Those to me are residential units, and they should stay residential units. And I keep hearing in these meetings, well, that'll never happen. Well, if it'll never happen, then why are we changing the zone? Why don't we just let them be?
Councilor
If it's
Gentile,
never gonna happen.
I think we're not saying that it would never happen, but we're trying to
Well,
look
Council Lipoff just said that those 2 new condo units,
in the
that,
first,
if those are 2 brand new units, then nothing's gonna happen.
Not
Well, then why
today.
change it? Why just leave them MR1?
because I think we're trying to look long-term to the future. It's been 75 years since we changed our residential zoning and I forget, 50 years since we changed the business zoning. At that time, everything was downzoned with not much notice. So this is how the community has developed. I think we are trying to look to the future, but also be realistic. Trying to put together a pattern that would make sense long-term. Things fall apart, they don't last forever, but a brand new, recently invested parcel is not gonna be the first one to consider doing anything. They just made this huge investment, and and also we've gone through an exercise to look at, okay, what are the things that trigger new development? So that, we can think about how that works and what's likely to happen. So a lot also that is heavily built already, where there's a lot of building, like some of these small lots that are fully built into the 2 families, are also not likely to change, because there's not really anywhere they can go today. Someday maybe there will be. So I think that's what's on our mind. We're trying to make a plan that's sensible, really long-term. Councilor Leary?
Yes, first of all, I think the committee has been very consistent about when with amendments, whether we think about it, whether they're gonna downzone them or upzone them. We just downzoned all those homes, and we did it as consistent with where we've been downzoning them in the many other meetings that we've had on this. And again, we're looking 60 or 70 years in the future, so that new condo, maybe in 8 years from now, is not gonna look so good anymore. But the MRT is consistent with what's there, and I also would like to pick up the pace. Okay?
Okay, but we have to give everyone a chance, like, counselors not on the committee aren't as deep in the weeds as we are, so, totally appreciate the need to have this conversation. I would like to move, so Councilor Gentile, you're not wanting to put your motion forward to eliminate the zoning. We have these lots on the next block, which you're also concerned about, but I think this is also part of Councilor Markowitz's proposal as well, further south on Melrose.
Chair, if I could add, I'm sorry, I'm not looking at, I can't see you guys on the camera, so I don't know who else is, I put these amendments forward a while ago. I don't know how many weeks, but it's been a bit. I guess it was when I thought the initial cutoff was probably the first week in August. I can be persuaded, and you may not vote this way, but I can be persuaded to support leaving it the way it is as well, for just the reasons that Councilor Gentile argued. The one concern I do have about the MRTs, and I'm happy that at least we moved in that direction, but you know, the combination of these lots is possible, and I would think over time that might be, you know, not an unrealistic thing. You know, God forbid there's a house fire or something, and all of a sudden, you know, the structure is gonna come down, and all of a sudden the game's changed. So 60 or 70 years out might not actually be as long as it takes. And I think that's the thinking here. What we're really trying to do is, you know, the square, Armadale Square is a lot of it actually is really sits on Lexington and runs a little bit east to where the Star Market is and Reagan Service. You know, that's kind of, it's almost the core there.
Are you where I am? Are you somewhere else? You're on Lexington now, not on Melrose?
No, I'm talking about the square itself. I'm just saying, I'm using that to explain that I think this piece of the square is really, you're really out of, you're kind of moving out of the square at this point. You know, you're moving towards, you know, they're all houses. You've got, you know, it's not Corpus Christi anymore, it's St. Antoine's, but, you know, it's just, you're really out of the square at that point. You're into a residential area. Streets are tight, but you're kind of out of the square. So I think that supports a bit what Councilor Gentile has been trying to get across, and what, as I look at this more carefully, I also agree. I think that makes sense. Again, I'm happy we had the vote for the MRTs as they were, but I wouldn't be opposed to leaving it as it is.
Okay, we are, I'm gonna have to say it this way, we are trying to move through all of these amendments, and, you know, like I said, the committee has been deep in the weeds. It's, we've been moving on stuff too, we've been making, you know, reaching compromise, changing some of the map and so forth. And we're trying to get a good chunk of that done in committee that hopefully will not come back at council, but you're perfectly within your rights to bring it back at council. We all know that, which is why we're trying to do it now. So trying to just get in an orderly way, that's why we're going sort of from outside in, and actually take the votes here and hear your recommendations one way or the other. So I would like to move down Melrose Street and figure out, we've got these 4 parcels here. There's multiple proposals for each one. And Councilor Markowitz, I'm gonna suggest that this, we start with yours, if you can explain it to us. So there's these 4 parcels.
278, 280, 82, 284, and then whatever that one is on the right-hand corner there. It's probably a part of a parking lot. My MRT proposal was again in line with at the time the best, what I thought was the best available recommendation within the VCOD structure. Again, because of the nature of what those buildings are, they're 1 and 2 family houses for the most part. I'm just checking my numbers here. There's a single, a 3, one's listed as a condominium, a 2 family. So that's what we're looking at there. And I think an MRT at the max would be you know, the appropriate designation there. So that's why I made that recommendation.
Okay, so the green is yours. Is the purple recommending VC1 for the 1 lot? Is that also yours? We eliminated VC1, but if there's a rationale for keeping it, that's what I'm asking.
Can we use addresses to identify where we are?
We just did.
Actually, well, you said the purple is 278, 280, 282.
No, these
I think
4 lots, one of them is shown as purple, as though
VC1,
recommendation.
VC1 was.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Chair. VC1 was what I said, but I would go with the MRT now to make that kind of block sort of consistent, I guess.
You're recommending this block be consistent. Okay, I want to ask planning, the underlying zoning is what? Is MR?
278 is MR2, 280, 82 is MR2, 284 is BU1, and this vacant lot, which is owned by the same person who owns 284, is BU1.
And are those
Oh,
homes
boy.
now, the 284?
284 is a 3-family home.
Okay.
Yeah,
In a
three.
business
They're all-
district.
They're all residential now.
Okay, but but two of them are in the business district, I think we need to understand that.
These are in the business district.
The
These
G1?
are MR2.
Okay. All right, the nature of the roadway that's between them and there's Melrose Street, there's an intersecting narrow street.
Melrose Avenue.
That's Melrose Avenue, thank you. And it looks very narrow, is that correct?
It's a one-way.
It is,
It's a narrow
you
one-way.
cannot get, it's one way and you can't get two cars, side by side through there. It's pretty narrow.
Okay, folks, we have a proposal on the a motion on the table to change these 4 lots to MRT, and I think we have the information, but President Albright?
So I'm fine with leaving them as MRT. I would love to know what's going on the Pike side of that block, but just to get a sense for what the context is on that side.
What is, when you
The
say?
VC3,
Yeah.
Please.
Blackers Bakery, down to
Red
Naughty
Song.
Pine. I'm sorry, Red Song, I said Blackers, Red Song down to Naughty Pine. I don't know if
Okay,
you know
so
that,
Village
Village
Bay.
Bay.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah, there's some,
Yeah,
I think it's what, 2.5, 3 stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the, what looks like it's landlocked, but it isn't. That three-unit building in the business zone is an independently owned parcel. Is that correct?
And they own this parcel that gives them access to Melrose Avenue.
Okay. All right. Are folks ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, all those in favor of taking those 4 lots and reducing them to MRT, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Council Markowitz, you got your motion approved.
Thank you.
Next, I think I wanna stay with the, well, I guess it's all VC2, because what you're now proposing, or I don't know if it's you, because I really need the map, sorry, so I have to start with the map and then I can go to the numbers. Is we have a whole block of buildings proposed as VC3, facing the T, facing I-90 and the T.
Along Auburn Street.
Okay, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parcels. And the proposal is to reduce it from VC3 to VC2.
could we break them up even more?
I'm sure we can,
I would go ahead with 286 being VC2 and the rest that face the Pike
VC3,
as VC3.
okay, 286?
Yeah.
I wanna, I'm just gonna say, I mean, I suppose somebody can ask for a change of zone. Is that a house, first of all? Is that a 2-family also?
Yes.
No, it's a small
An
apartment
apartment
building.
building.
It's a small apartment building with again, that is a very modest apartment building.
With how many units?
There's either 6 or 8 in there, yeah.
6 units?
6 units, yeah.
2.5 stories?
That's it.
And the reason I originally proposed a VC1 there was I kind of wanted that to stay the way it was. Again, it's a small apartment building, it's extreme, we do have these in Auburndale, very, very affordable place to live. I don't know what they have for parking, to be honest with you, but I came up with the VC1 because I thought that was the best way just to leave it the way it was at the time. Looking at the height and everything else that went with it. And that may not have been the best designation, I don't know if it should be an MRT, but certainly
I'll withdraw my
I'd like to
proposal
preserve
to
that the way it is, I think.
For that one.
Well, it wasn't MRT to begin with.
It wasn't MRT to begin with, it was VC3, and it's attached to this front block. But if if the
That's it right there.
proposal, the proposal from Councilor Markowitz at one point was to reduce it to VC one, which, because it's bigger than MRT already, it's a heavily developed, small site. So the likelihood that it's gonna change is probably, anytime soon is probably really small, but it's also part of the one block facing the T on that street.
If we don't, keep it at MRT or downzone to MRT, the same owners own 327, so they could combine the lot and tear it down.
Which one is three?
It's the one right at the corner there, and it's, the two of them will be less than 30,000 square feet.
But I will say that they now abut MRT, potentially. So they're now abutting residential, so they're gonna have those restrictions.
They're gonna have the 50-foot
50-foot
setback
setback.
restriction. Yeah,
Yeah, so how deep is that lot, do you know?
Actually, it doesn't abut MRT because then there's 319, their driveway goes on the side of it, so that lot abuts VC3.
which lot abuts VC three?
So 286 abuts 319. 319 goes, to get to the back of the building is from Melrose.
Oh, that's a
But it
lot,
doesn't go, it's not next to it.
It's, well, look at it, it's got a.
See there?
it's got an access way,
It's got an access way, but the building isn't close to it.
but it's.
No,
it's
but
the
I'm
zone.
saying it'll be abutting in,
So folks, one thing is if we,
VC3.
if we care about the potential for the residential above, commercial, I'm thinking out loud, which is dangerous, but if we reduce that to MRT, that little building which is owned by the people in the front building, there's not gonna be much opportunity to do VC three anyway in that front building.
Right, that's why I was asking what the depth of the lot is.
Which lot?
The 327.
well, I'm proposing to do 327 as VC2, and they could develop it then.
Yeah, that's what I proposed it as VC2 as well.
It's only 2 stories now.
70 feet deep.
70 feet, yeah, so
So
they
if you
can't
go
go
back
up
50
higher than.
feet from an MRT, there's nothing you can do.
So then we should keep it at VC2.
Not
then,
nothing
don't
you
we?
can do.
No,
You can do
go 3.5
VC2.
stories.
But it'll be a shower.
So I don't know if that helps protect this little guy, but we don't. Looking at this map, I'm thinking that going down to VC one doesn't make so much sense, and keeping it, we already agreed that, we can change our minds, right? But we agreed that we wanted to take that out. So if you're not doing that,
Yeah, I would propose MRT for 286 and VC2 for 327, I think that makes sense.
Does that still have the 50-foot setback? VC2 to MRT?
No, VC2 stays the same, because that's the level that you want.
You can't have
Okay.
3.5
Right,
stories,
right,
more than
right.
3.5 stories within 50 feet.
Yep.
Okay, so Councilor Markowitz, are you following our conversation?
I think I agree with what Josh just said. If you keep 286, you put it 286 as an MRT and do 327 as a VC2, which would set up, I think, the rest of Auburn Street as a VC2. That would make sense. Can I talk about Auburn Street just for a second, since we stopped?
Should we not vote this first?
No,
let
let's
us take
vote
this
this.
vote.
We'd like to take this vote,
Okay.
so it's just on these 2 properties, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so the motion is to change the small property on Melrose Street. I just have to say this, because I'm gonna abstain on this one, that the small property, if we downzone it to an MRT, that's less than what it is today.
I think that's what it is today.
There's 8 units in it.
Oh,
There's
Six.
Six.
I think it's
6 units in it still, the building takes up the whole lot, wouldn't
Well,
that
they
be
can
able-
keep that if they renovate it and
I
they
get
can
it,
expand.
just saying that, I just wanted to make it clear,
It's
because
BU1 right now. The 286 is BU1.
it's BU1 and we're making it MRT, so we're taking it out of the business district, which is not anything we've done yet, just saying. And, so it's a down zone to something that's less than what is there today and what the potential is today.
Well, they still get to keep the BU1.
I get it, but it's not useful on a lot like that. Never mind, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna abstain, so there's a motion on the table to downzone these two parcels, smaller one to MRT and the larger one to VC2. All those in favor?
Aye.
And any abstentions?
All abstain. One no.
Oh, and one no? Okay, sorry, I didn't ask about no's. Two no's and two abstentions. So 4 in favor, 2 no's and 2 abstentions. Get that, Jacqueline? Yes. Thank you. All right, now, we've got, before you talk about Auburn Street, Council Markowitz, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 properties. Well, is that what you're talking about, the 4 properties that face the T here? Is that what you wanna talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to just talk about why, kind of some general background on why I in that area, wanted to take VC3 down to VC2. So the 2 acknowledges that, clearly you can have bigger buildings that are there now. There is a bit of a height issue here, talking about transitions to neighborhoods. If you're looking back at Commonwealth Avenue now, Auburn Street is probably, I think Councilor Gentile had the engineering department look this up, but I believe it's at least 18 feet above Com Ave. So if you're familiar with that area, you know that Lexington Grove goes up from Com Ave. And Lenny, do you remember, is it 18 feet or?
It's, engineering came back today and they got specific. They said 22.9 feet is the change in grade from Com Ave up to Auburn.
Okay, so when I first looked at the VC3, and I know there's, depending on whether there's the affordable bonus or not, the number I was originally working with was a 72-foot maximum height, and adding that 20-odd feet to it, you're getting now to the point where you have a nearly 100, and I guess with the housing bonus, you'd actually be over this, if someone choose to take that option. You would have a 100-foot tall building on Auburn Street, and looking back from Com Ave.
No.
What?
Well, you don't mean you would have a 100-foot building. I think what I'm hearing you say is that because you're starting at a higher elevation, it would seem that way.
The top of the building would be 100 feet above Com Ave. I think that's the way of saying it. Yeah, it's not a 100-foot building, right?
Okay.
Right. And I think that would be pretty prominent. And again, back to this transition into the neighborhood, it would be monolithic. And if you started combining those you need a special permit to combine them, but you just start looking at the scale and you say it's just too big for that particular thing. A VC2 would still be big and would still give the opportunity to develop and add more, units there. I am very keen. It's another conversation. I still would like to understand how the commercial tenants there that are there today. I mean, Breadsong Bakery, wonderful little bakery. The dry cleaner, Ash, the convenience store, all that stuff. How they would survive, a changeover and probably an increase in rent from a new building. But we'll leave that for another conversation.
Please.
But that's why that was my primary reason for the VC2 here. That it would enable development, more housing there, but it just wouldn't be super tall.
Okay. We have a proposal to reduce from VC3 to VC2, these 4 properties. Do we need the numbers?
It's 327, 349, 319, 305, and 315.
It's
319.
319 and 305 to 315.
Okay.
4 lots.
And 4 lots, the proposal is to reduce from VC3 to VC2. Ready to vote?
Yep.
You're looking at me quizzically, Councilor Princeman.
Well, if there's an area in Auburndale that can handle VC3, I think this is it. I think, that area along Auburn Street. So, and it's right by the commuter rail. This is, sort of the area that can take it. So I think I'm gonna vote against this.
Okay.
I will too.
Can I add the one comment to Josh's point? Again, look at the Framingham Worcester T schedule. The train runs 2 hours apart, and this takes, I don't think we actually answered the question, but if I go back and I talk about Waban, and I have to pick on Waban here because it's easy. There's a T station right in the middle of, right by the post office, the Starbucks, the hardware, the pizza joint, the best deli in the city. All that stuff is right there, and
Council
and-
Markowitz?
We need to vote.
We voted last session to, increase the zoning there.
To VC three.
Okay, I guess I need to keep up.
Yeah.
I've been watching this, but I guess I missed something.
It's okay, but we have a lot to do here, in Auburndale still, so I'm gonna take this vote, and we'll take it from there. The proposal, again, to reduce VC three to VC two, these 4 parcels, all in favor, please say aye.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, it's Councilor Gentile. I know you want to move along, but in my defense, I've been to every one of these meetings, and I haven't asked to be recognized once because I realize the time frame and the pressure that you're under. So I haven't said a word at any of the other meetings, but this is my ward, and I would like to be able to, say my piece.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you had something more to say.
Oh, well, there was a comment made earlier about marching along, and I get it, but, again, I haven't said a word to this point, so, give me that courtesy. So the big argument, I think, for reducing this to VC2 is the point that Chris made earlier about a significant change in grade from Commonwealth Avenue up to Auburn Street. And it's close to 23 feet, and, that's gonna just dwarf the rest of the square, because we're talking about putting the tallest buildings in the tallest section of Auburndale. And I think that that's the overriding issue for keeping it at VC2. None of these units are gonna count towards a MBTA Communities Act. And as I've heard on several other discussions, that we should be doing what's best in each individual village. And I think in this particular village, at that site, that there'll be plenty of room to create housing as a VC2, but the VC3 is just gonna be too tall there.
Well, I do wanna say, Councilor Gentile, this committee has consistently said to one another and understands that we are trying to do what we believe is best for each village. I believe we're taking our votes in that spirit. I agree with you there. We just might not all agree on what's best for each village. We're not looking at the quality of the tea today. We're looking at the, we get this done and we get approved by the state. We're looking at rebuilding 3 commuter rail stations. So it's a chicken and egg kind of a thing, but we can't get one with, we can't not do one because we don't have the other, because we won't get the other if we don't do one. So it's all interrelated. So I hope you understand that the rest of us, we're not doing this because we think it's gonna be bad for Auburndale if we vote to keep the VC3 there. We're doing it because we think it would be good for this area.
No, I understand, and I'm not saying a word about the commuter. I'm just talking strictly from an aesthetic standpoint, that putting, an 82-foot building on an area that's already 23 feet higher than, a lot of the other parts of the village, to me, it's just not the right thing to do for Auburndale. It's nothing to do with commuters and what's gonna happen down the road or what's gonna happen 70 years from now. I'm concerned about what's gonna happen next year.
Well, I'm getting 63 feet as a likely height. You'd add 3 feet to that if you had an 18-foot first floor. And that's what the by right is without the affordable units. I think we need to take our vote, Councilor Gentile.
But again, you keep making not you, the committee keeps making assumptions instead of looking at what can be built there. And I'm looking at a chart. Zach's been very helpful to me the last few weeks. He drew the short straw. Whenever I ask a question, I send it in to everybody, and he draws the short straw and asks to get back to me. But he's helped me to understand things, and I'm looking at the chart that he sent me, and a pitched roof can have a height of 84 feet in a VC3 district. And what Chris was trying to say earlier, you tack that on a site that's 23 feet higher than where Comm Ave is, you're talking about one of the tallest buildings in any of these, probably the tallest buildings in any of these new village centers. That's all. I'm not talking about anything else. It's too big.
Okay, we can go over the numbers. We have reduced some of the heights of things. For example.
I just got this yesterday from Zach, and I'm sure it's accurate. It's 84 feet.
72 feet for pitched roof, 4.5 stories.
84 feet is with the affordable housing bonus.
Right.
Assuming that the ground floor is an 18-foot ground floor, and assuming all the residential floors are 13 feet.
Which, if it's residential, it's 12 feet.
No.
There's a maximum height allowance that allows for it.
Because of the commercial potential. Okay.
Because so that's where you get the
Okay.
overall height. I think, as we're saying, I think I said in the email as well, that I think it's unlikely that you're going to see all 18-foot first floor buildings, and it's very unlikely that you're going to see a 13-foot floor-to-floor residential construction because it's not cost effective.
Right.
So it could happen. It could. The zoning allows for it, and the zoning does allow for it for all the reasons we've talked about in this committee.
Well, developers have a keen ability, to build as much as they're allowed to build in the zone. So
That's
I
true
think
in
we
terms
need
of
to pay
square
attention
footage.
to the numbers.
But I think that's true in terms of square footage generally, I think, but I think the point Zach's trying to make is we're trying to allow for multiplicity of uses by giving flexibility on the heights, but that developers are not likely to build more height than they need to get the same square footage, because that just costs more and doesn't get anything.
Can we specify would we be allowed to specify commercial 18 feet, residential 15 feet, something like that? Because that would solve so many problems.
A lot of commercial only needs 15 feet on the ground floor.
Okay, but you're setting it as a maximum.
You could, it's not relevant to the map discussion. I think getting into this very specificity, it gets at that things evolve over time, and you want to provide that flexibility. So I think if you set the maximum height overall, again, to get different roof forms, different height variation, different architectural styles, this is a better framework to allow that. I understand there might be a fear, but I think if you really dig down into it, the flexibility is a positive one and won't result in development that just builds to the maximum every single time.
I totally get that, and it's just that so many people are being scared to death that everybody's gonna be 84, 92 feet, and I don't know if the flexibility gets you as far as we want it to get us.
Sure.
And Zach, doesn't the extra affordability unit have to be 25% affordable to 65% AMI?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
And
To get to that maximum
will that
height.
always be economically viable for
Yes.
for a lot of buildings?
Yes. According to the Fair Housing and some of their developers, they wrote an email saying yes in their way.
Yeah, they had guidelines about it.
I don't think they said that it would always 100% of the time be economically viable.
Well, not
The
100%.
site has to be accommodating of the use. There's only so much affordable housing in the state of Massachusetts that can be built in a given time period because it takes years to put the funding together. Years to get low-income tax credits, like 3 years to get low-income tax credits. That's why the Armory is taking so long, because it takes many years just to get the paperwork done. So we're gonna be lucky to get a couple of those. But I think we really do, Councilor Gentile, we hear you. I think there's some disagreement among the Ward 4 councilors, and that's fine. And I think there's some disagreement on the committee, and that's fine. But I really do think we need to take our straw vote and keep going on the other sections, or we won't get done. There's a long way to go. We still have public hearing, and we still have council.
I agree. Can I just make one final point and then I'll leave you alone on it so you can vote? On the affordability, we're gonna be seeing yet another Riverside version, Riverside 3. And that is gonna be, Chris, what is it gonna be, 30% affordable housing at 60 AMI? Isn't that what they're talking about?
I don't know that I want to, we're giving them till, they're supposed to come back to us later this month, but it's likely to be a lot of lot more affordability in that next development. I guess I would say that based on what I've heard.
Well, 30%, folks, at 60% AMI. Chris likes to be a little kinder to the developer than I care to be. But that's what they're planning on. That's what we're going to get next, out of 600 units. And then the final thing is, and I'm not even going to ask to do it tonight, but to the right of Auburn Street, when we get to full council, I'm going to be proposing some changes there. And what I want to get on record, one of those changes is going to be to the office building that I have an ownership in. So I want to disclose that. And my proposal is going to be to downzone it from what it's recommended, because it doesn't need to be VC3. It's fine at VC2 in my opinion. And so that's certainly not going to help me economically. Earlier, I was going to make the case that for those that find me particularly annoying, you could vote to vote for my property from a VC3 to a VC2 because it would hurt my bottom line, but it's not funny anymore. So anyway, but that, I'm just bringing it up that I'll be making that motion at 450 Lexington Street and some of the surrounding areas that those two should be VC2.
I might think you have to recuse yourself from something like that, Councilor Gentile, and maybe somebody else should make that motion.
Well, it's not, I've already stated it, I've already stated my interest. I'm not gonna gain financially from it because I'm talking about a smaller building.
It doesn't matter, I
Bigger
think.
buildings pay more.
Okay, I think we shouldn't talk about that today, but I would recommend that the law
I'm just giving
department
you a
give
heads
you
up
some
as to what's happening. I'll deal with the law department. I know how to disclose it. I've had to disclose a few things over the years, so I'll take care of that. I'm just giving you a heads up so you're not surprised and get extra mad at me when I bring it up at the full council.
I think
I already made
we're not
that
gonna be
proposal
surprised at the amendments that you put forward, Councilor Gentile. I think we know that they're coming.
Thanks.
All right. All those in favor of reducing from VC3 to VC2, these 4 parcels, numbers 314 and 305 to 315 that are right in front of the T, right across from I-90 and the T and all that, please say aye.
Aye.
That's 2. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Are there any abstentions? Okay, that is 2 in favor, 6 opposed. Going up north to, there's a cluster of properties on the corner of Auburn Street and Commonwealth Avenue.
Sure. May I make one last comment on the transit thing, and then I'll be done for the night with that.
Sure.
You know, I have a little different perspective. I've actually spent I've been chasing those accessible stations myself, and I've sat in a number of meetings going back to the first one when I was just elected, and I was in a room with Stephanie Pollack, who was the secretary at that time, when she told us that Newton might have to pay for those stations all by themselves. And then some couple of years later, we got, I think, a promise of about $80 million. And I know the mayor was very excited about that, called me and said, we got it. And I said, that's only about half the money you need to fix those stations. So the cost keeps going up. and the timeline to implement it. This is more just general information since people may be listening to this and this is being recorded. But from start to finish, to redo those 3 Newton stations could be 6 to 10 years, and $150 million in current money to make them the kind of accessible stations that we need. That's a big part of it. So I just want to say, I think in general, all of this transit-oriented initiative needs to really recognize that we're being promised something we're being asked to do something by the state that they're really not doing anything to help us with.
Councilor Markowitz, I guess I have to respond just a little bit, but please, let's not talk about these things. We have an agenda to get through, and it's all
I'll let that, I said I'd let it go, I just wanted to make them editorial.
we
So
must
I'm done
finish
for the night
tonight.
with transit.
Okay, all right. There's
These buildings might not get built
Yeah.
for 65 to 70
That's right, the
years.
buildings might not get built for 65 years, and right now there's $170 million on the table if we get this done. 85 is only from the state. So I'm going to go forward to the next area, and let's please try to focus on the map. So there's lots north along the corner of Auburn Street and Commonwealth Avenue. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lots. There are a couple of proposals. One is to upzone from VC2. These were all VC2 as proposed in version 2. One is to upzone to VC3, and the other is to downzone to what looks to me like VC1, which again has been eliminated.
Yep.
So does anyone want to take responsibility and move to upzone these to VC3?
I'd like to move that we retain them as VC2.
Okay, we don't have a motion.
There's no motion, you don't have to do anything.
I was just trying to do that to kill the other 2 ones.
Thank
Just
you.
take one
Okay.
vote.
So we have a motion from Councilor Krinsman to retain them
Can
as
you give me the
VC,
addresses, please?
VC2.
Is this
Yeah.
supposed to go to the other map?
You wanna go to the other map?
Yes.
To the property map.
Yep.
Keys drug.
Take off
Oh,
the topo.
okay.
All right, do we need the numbers?
Isn't that the corner of Lexington and Conroe?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, so I was confused because they said that wasn't what was said.
Okay, so we have no motion to upzone or downzone at the moment.
So we don't have to vote on anything.
We don't, but I think Councilor Krinsman was trying to be proactive.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's no motion, let it die. Yep.
all right, no motion, they remain as VC2. Okay. No change there. Then, across the street, there is VC2 across the street on the corner of Auburn Street and Commonwealth Avenue, 1, 2, 3, 4 lots. There's a couple of proposals there, a little bit unclear. Again, it looks like they're being proposed as VC1. Those 3 on just the 3 lots.
4.
Chair, point of privilege. So, I proposed, you already voted, straw voted, I guess, but that the corner that is Com Ave and Lexington Street there. So Keys Drug, Tom's Pizza, the Dunkin' Donuts, Auburndale Liquors, all that stuff. I don't know what to say. I mean, so I proposed a VC1. The VC1 got eliminated. I didn't update it. But I just want to speak to why I did that, and then I'll be done. And again, it's same thing, scale. It's just scale. Those buildings that are there now would be doubled in size. And it just seems like all of a sudden you got neighborhood and then boom, it's like you're stacking Legos on a table and you've got this tall thing standing there. So those businesses, they're all doing quite well. I hope they stay. But that was my rationale for that. You're gonna have the same thing anyplace else. I proposed a VC1, I guess. The
VC2
alternative.
is 3.5 stories.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Baker?
Just a point of clarification, if you'd have to move them out of the village district altogether in order not to have been affected by this. So but that VC1 is no longer available, so either it stays at VC2 or there's a motion to move it out completely. And that's the only option, I think, to achieve what you have in mind. But I'm not urging that, I'm just saying that because I don't think the committee will vote for it, and I'm
And Counselor Baker is leaving at 10. So,
I'll be all alone.
no, you won't be all alone. We are finishing tonight, folks, okay? We have to, this is going out tomorrow. Okay, so
Can
Counselor
I just say, just because we removed VC1 from Route 9, I don't see why we can't use it somewhere else. It's all defined. Not that I agree that this should go to VC1, but in principle, I think VC1
That's
should
right,
still
but
be on the
if
table.
we do that, then, if there is a motion, we will take it, and means that if it passes, which I hope it doesn't, frankly, then the staff have to put VC1 back in the package. Is there a motion? Hearing none. These properties stay the way they are as VC2. For the properties across the street, also proposed to go from VC2 to VC1. Is there a motion?
Which ones are you talking about?
Across Auburn Street,
These four.
Reagan's.
corner of Auburn and
Reed's
see what.
gas station.
Oh, I thought that's what we just voted on.
No, we had to go back. We were interrupted, had to go back. So here we are on the corner of Auburn Street and Com Ave. Is there a motion?
Lexington.
Yeah, it turns.
I'm sorry. Oh,
Sorry. my
It
fault.
turns into, yes,
they turn
Lexington,
into-
sorry.
At some point it changes.
It turns into Grove at some point. It's Lexington there. You're talking about Reagan's service and the auto sales attached to that.
Okay, is there
It
a
always
motion?
helps to know where you are and what it is.
Oh, absolutely. Is there a motion to change the zone there? Hearing none, this area remains as VC2. Then there's a motion to upzone VC2 the rest of the way along Commonwealth Avenue, which is going east. Is there a motion? Seeing none, that area remains as VC2. And then if we go back into the square.
You really have to give addresses, I mean.
That was the Star Market.
Yeah, that was.
It's going east
Yeah.
along the Commonwealth Avenue.
Yeah.
And Zach is pointing it out for us.
Isn't there a 3-story building next to the Star Market, if you keep going east?
There's the Star Market and then
Office building.
There's Star Market, and then there are 2 office buildings as you get to the Pike. Those are the last 2 things there. I think they were
Three or
proposed
four
for
stories.
DC2, which I left alone, I thought, because that's kind of what they are right now.
Yep,
3.5 is VC2.
Yep.
So.
okay. Are we
Left them
good?
the way they were.
Yeah. All
So
right,
keep them.
so then, we're gonna go, this is the last parcel in Auburndale. Last 4 parcels are VC3. And going back down Lexington Street, and wrapping the corner in front of I-90. Can we get there, Zach, on the
We'll
map?
get there
Yeah.
eventually.
Sorry. Just gonna. These VC3 buildings.
Hold on, Council Ray. So there are 1,
And
2,
that includes, can I help you here, Chair?
Yep.
That includes Counselor Gentile's building, which is 450.
I'm
Which
aware.
I propose to go from VC3 to VC2, same rationale, or similar rationale as what I argued for the other part of Auburn Street. And then you've got a corner there with a very funky parking lot where Ward 4, a dog groomer, a dentist, there's a couple of odd things in there, are. And then finally, there's a couple of smaller office buildings as you go further back down. You got this turned. Something's wrong. That's not Auburn Street. Where it says Auburn Street, that's not Auburn Street. That
Yes,
is
we
Lexington.
understand that now, so it's Lexington Street.
Yeah, it's Lexington Street. So I think I had those all at VC2 or VC1.
Okay, so there's a proposal to take those lots that again face I-90 along the last bit of Lexington Street. Council Wright.
So, Auburndale has less land for a village center than Waben. And Waben, we only upzoned 2 lots to VC3. This is much smaller. And then there's the height issue. I think those lots should continue to be VC, or downzone to VC2.
Okay. Anybody else, or are we ready to vote? Counselor Krinsman, you okay with this? Ready to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a proposal to take these lots. I wanna remind us, the several lots right across Lexington, we voted 4-2 to keep VC3.
So these are cross, it's actually Auburn Street there, isn't it?
No, it's actually Lexington, it's misnamed apparently, because
It's Lexington. You can't imagine how this affects when you look at it and you live there and you're on that street 1,000 times and you see this. You're like, I hope you know the area.
It says Auburn Street on Google Maps, that's what's confusing.
They merge into each other.
You can't trust Google.
Point, that maybe isn't quite right.
We understand, I do know it's Lexington Street.
Well, look at the address, it all says Lexington Street.
Yeah. Okay, we have a proposal to reduce from VC3 to VC2 these lots. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's 2. Opposed?
No.
Any abstentions?
The suspense is killing me.
2 to 6. Okay, so the committee is voting 2 in favor and 6 opposed, so it stays VC3. Okay, and that wraps Auburndale. Yes, thank you, Councilors Markowitz and Gentile. I know Councilor Markowitz spent a lot of time going site by site, which is why we're trying to do it here. Though, and then we made a fair number of changes here, so I'll work with Jacqueline to make sure we get these straight quickly, so that we're trying to keep a clear list of modifications now ahead of getting into the reports this weekend.
We go to Newton Corners?
Yes.
Alphabetically.
By height, right? Barrett said, line up alphabetically by height.
Yep. How come they're not together? Newton Corner. I might need a minute.
Sure, you want a bio break or?
Yeah. Yep. I need a minute. Okay. 2 minutes, folks.
2 minute warning.
2 minutes.
Oh, really? Yeah, I know, they're keeping up with it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good, I have to.
No, they're really following that one.
Yeah, we have to do it. Oh, like.
We're on mute.
Huh?
We're muted.
Yeah, I have to do 2 more targeted mailings in 3 days. Good thing I got.
2 minutes?
Yeah, 528 Boylston neighborhood and Sunrise neighborhood across from John's building. See, I've been against Sunrise
Across
since.
from John's building.
Yeah, my husband.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, right?
yeah, John Street,
Florence.
Florence Street,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, I've been against that project from day one.
Mhm.
I think it's a bad use of what little land we have left, and we don't need another high-priced nursing home. And so I've been, but he's out there saying that I'm against it, and all the people that live there think I am. Even though I met with them right at the beginning, and and the same thing with 528. It's just too big of a thing, and I wrote a letter to ZBA. And he's got them all, so now David Kalis is involved, and no, he's like freaking out because they were all in contact with him, and he's going, what are you kidding me? Yeah. And this is what's going on. He's just out there lying. You know,
Yeah, I've,
You know,
I
it's
think
like-
everybody's noticed that.
we're all, we're all at that thing tonight, right? Am I wrong? If you notice, everyone's, Republicans are coming up to me, I have a lot of friends. He was there.
Back over on mute, right?
Yes.
A long time ago.
We're not- We're not broadcasting with it either.
You know,
Stranger things have happened.
now I have to respond.
No, not my problem.
That's a good thing.
Right, rather than,
Okay.
Or I wouldn't be able.
We're gonna get through Newton Corner in 10
What is that
minutes.
gonna cost you?
Okay?
I got it.
Both purchasing, both purchasing.
I'm right here.
David, so
David.
less than a thousand, he was out there today driving around, counting signs against
Yeah, I'm sorry.
you know, so it was, so we know, we were on the streets today.
My husband found this picture.
We already made up the,
New Rotary officers from 78, 79, there's only if you knew anyone.
it says right on it. It's like my campaign talking from.
Okay.
I wish I could tell you.
Let's see if this
One of them is
is
obviously
for us.
clergy.
Yeah,
That's all
keep
I
it,
could-
keep it short.
Okay, folks,
I-
Alright, guys.
let's do it. 15 minutes of village. Right, Allison?
Right.
Is your neck of the woods. Okay, we are almost all back. We're doing Newton Corner. We already did Newton Corner.
Yeah, right.
Yep, so we have Newton Corner and Mandantum to do.
Can I make a procedural suggestion, if I have some time to do?
This quick.
I guess I would just ask, is there a proposal from any counselor for modification, just to find out if there are?
Yes, there's a whole list of them.
I know, but I mean, in a sense, in the room here, right, they're yours, you're gonna move?
And Councilor
Yes.
Greenberg is here. I think
Yeah.
Councilor Oliver, I can't see everybody.
Council Wright had some too, right? Quite a few, actually.
Yep.
I'm
Okay.
just trying to understand who's moving.
I think generally the proposals to expand districts are coming from outside the council, and the council is not.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody did, so I think your procedure is saying, is anybody in favor of this?
Okay, here we are. All right, we're in Newton Corner, and we're gonna go outside in. Is there any counselor who wants to move an expansion of the MRT district? Seeing none, I'm gonna take those off the table. Okay? Then there are proposals to reduce the VC2 district to MRT in several locations. Gonna start to the south. Could we have that street name on there?
That's Richardson Street, isn't it?
This one?
I'm sorry,
Yes.
yep.
Are you starting with Richardson Street?
Richardson. Yep, Richardson Street. So there's a proposal to down the zone those from VC2 to MRT. Does anyone wanna take, want to propose that change, and if so, why?
I do have an opinion on that.
Okay, Councilor Leary.
Let me just see where I am, Richardson Street. As I had written everything down by,
That's
address.
fine. So we're Richardson Street, and, let me
Pull
draw
up
that
the
street.
addresses.
Is this your proposal?
I can't remember whether it was
But you would like to
so
move,
long ago.
okay, do you wanna move it?
I'll move it otherwise.
So right now, the whole thing is MRT?
No,
VC2. Oh, VC2.
The proposal is to,
Okay.
that's why I go by the colored map, because the proposal is to reduce from VC2 to MRT just along Richardson Street.
Yeah, I don't fully agree with that.
Okay, so you don't wanna move it.
No.
So Counselor Wright wants to move it.
Yes, at least for some of these, especially at the end, they're, two-family homes.
Yeah, at the end, I would agree with.
Which lots?
Let's see what those numbers are.
Can we do the other?
40, 38, 32.
Can you,
Yeah, I know.
38, 32, and 40?
Yeah, and then I would just do the parking lot next to it too.
Could you give us some context, Zach? Could you show us
The
what
little
it
man
looks
down
like
there?
now?
I'll put the guy down there. That's the end of Richardson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Must not be a parking lot anymore.
So you got,
And what's across the street from it?
A
Pike,
parking lot.
a little
Yeah.
park.
The city parking lot.
Richardson
you
Street
got the
parking lot.
Richardson Street
Okay.
parking lot.
And the entrance to the off-ramp for the Pike.
Yeah.
Is right close to, and then the fire station is at the end of it,
Correct.
facing Church Street.
I'm going towards center right now.
There's no step down then from VC3 to VC2 to MRT if this comes out, right? Not that that's critical, but there's some really big stuff already here. And a lot of development already here in Newton Corner.
An apartment building.
Yeah, that's a big
Center.
four-story
Building I would
apartment
move
building.
along, but
Yeah.
the rest I would move. Because they're basically residential, I was concerned that that's a redevelopment. I'm not sure that's why.
So from
Okay.
from 12
All the way down.
down to the end.
Yeah.
MRT.
Okay.
Counselor Larry, what do you think?
So not these.
Not those
Yeah,
two,
keeping those as VC2.
but then the next one?
That was a two-family.
Yeah, the rest of them are okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So the proposal.
Okay, being
So
MRT.
Who's moving it?
MRT.
You wanna move it then? Who's moving?
I'll move it, somebody need to move it.
Okay, I'll move it.
Counselor Larry moves that we, keep VC2, do we have an address on that?
It's gonna be 457 center and
I have
465.
one person say it,
457 and 465.
457 and 465 remains as VC2, and the rest of the block along Richardson Street is downzone to MRT. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we did that. Then if we go to the far east on the map along Park Street, there's a lot of parcels here. I hope we don't have to do all the numbers, but can we look at that area?
You're jumping way over to Park Street
Yeah,
now?
why don't we
Yes,
just do
because
the
I'm
line?
staying,
Yeah.
because I'm staying in VC2.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We're gonna do VC2 and then we're gonna go to VC3.
Okay.
So there's a proposal to take this entire block and reduce it to MRT.
You got some pretty good sized apartment buildings here, like 4046 Park Street.
Yeah.
You've got a 6-family building here.
So this is not something that.
It's pretty mixed. You've got a converted 4-unit building. Got another 6-unit building. You got a 2-family. Kind of runs the gamut.
And it's, okay, so it's across from some MRT and then it's across from some other VC2. When we met with the Newton Corner Neighborhood Association, and I know that one member has some other ideas right now, but when we met with them, we made changes to the map. We agreed to certain changes on the map and just made them in preparation for VC2, version 2. By we, I mean, there was a Newton Corner Neighborhood Association meeting, and these things were discussed, and then they were brought to the attention of the planning department, and then there was a meeting with the two leaders of the, group. Richard and Robin, and, decisions were made. So what we just did was not something they asked for, but I'm sure nobody's gonna mind downzoning, so, and then, this too, but this area, as it's just been explained to us, has quite a lot of dense apartment buildings already. So what do you wanna do?
Question, is the neighborhood association okay with this being BC two?
Well, they were at the time, but now there's another proposal, but it's not from the association, it's from an individual who's
Is the
part of the
association-
association, yeah.
The association is okay with it, not an individual in the association. The association is okay with BC two.
He's one of the leaders, so, you
We're
know.
meeting with them tomorrow, actually.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes.
I don't know, you know, the dates that were given to me did not work, and I didn't hear about another date, so.
Can we move the 54, 327, 321, 315 along Tremont Street? Those are all 1 and 2 families on the bottom there. I think those,
Can we
we
see
can
the other
start
map,
there?
please?
Right at the bottom of that,
On Elmwood?
on Tremont.
Oh, at the bottom there.
On the bottom, all those are 1 and 2 families, and around to the right is MRT. So I think those at least should be downzoned to MRT.
We wanna do that? Okay, so Counselor Baker moves that we reduce those 4 lots, along Tremont Street, to MRT. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? Oh, yeah, okay, 7, 1 abstention. All right, now, can we do the rest as a block? All right, all those in favor, well, actually, we don't have a motion. Do we have a motion to?
There are a few, existing, some of them are more multifamily, but I guess the question is, are there a few of those others that are still appropriate for the same, on the same logic? And I want to ask
Chair?
my Ward 1 colleague.
Counselor Greenberg.
Hi, thank you, Chair. I was also thinking about the lots that border Washington Street in that block. Next to the MRT, those 4, those are 2-family homes.
Where are we?
Yeah, right where the arrow is, or was.
Yep.
So, I don't have my glasses, 1 second. 172, 178, 184, 1214.
Those are big lots.
That's a pretty big 2-family.
It is a 2-family.
I'm not sure about that one, but the other 3 are 2 families.
That one's a 2-family too.
Oh, is it?
Someday it might wanna break up into smaller apartments.
So, all I wanna say is, from where we've been trying to do this, you know, from the center of the village, stepping down and, you know, nope, well, I don't know.
Zach,
What
what's
makes-
the frontage on that one, 176? What's the frontage on Washington Street?
This one?
Yeah.
We have to measure it, I'll measure it.
It'd be too skinny though. Long and skinny, wouldn't do anything.
It's about 95,
It is?
95 feet, about.
So the one next to it then is not wide enough to divide.
Yeah.
I mean, this is way bigger.
That's a huge lot, isn't that 30,000 square feet?
That's 15,000, or close to 16.
Right
That's
on
huge.
Washington.
Yeah.
Okay.
What number is that?
All right,
178 to
let's-
180.
Are we taking these 4 lots and
So if
somebody
it's
moving?
MRT, they could subdivide it into 2 lots.
Yeah, we
Compared to
carry on.
those 4,
Okay.
Councilor Greenberg is represented.
Counselor Baker is moving, reducing from VC two to MRT, the 4 lots along, that's now Washington Street. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Okay, that's 3 in favor, 3 opposed.
I'm gonna abstain on that, actually.
Okay, 2 in favor. How many opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, 2 opposed. Is Councilor Albright?
Yes.
3 opposed and 2 abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. 2, 3.
Abstains.
Sorry, did I do that right? I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Okay, 2 in favor, 3 opposed, 3 abstentions? Okay. Okay, and the rest of that block,
Does that fail or pass?
it fails.
So it stays VC two.
And across the street, I would be curious about the proposal for the,
Removing, yeah, is that city land?
no, not the blank part, but
Yeah, I
Can we
think it
finish
is.
off that block
Well, then
before
we do not have a motion to change the
Oh.
rest of it.
Got it,
So the rest of it is
Wording.
staying as VC two.
okay.
Thank you for making me clarify that. Okay, so across the street, what is the black line?
City property.
That's what I just asked, I didn't hear anybody say that, city property, okay. All right, so there's 4 lots there,
and they're smaller properties.
They are small
They're
properties.
smaller properties.
And there are 2 families.
okay, motion to change them from VC2 to MRT,
Yes.
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 okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. 8-0. Go back to MRT. All right, that does, oh, no, VC2, so crossing the pike. There's a proposal to add VC2, in the Circle of Death, I think, is that where that is?
It's, I think, a preschool or daycare.
It's what?
Preschool or daycare, right there.
Next to a park there,
Where is it?
right in the corner there.
It's right at the exit ramp.
It's right here, Northampton Place.
That little building there is a
2-2.
dentist,
And I think there's a preschool, 185, I think it's.
185.
and that 3225 is a group home, the one closest to the, one of them is a group home.
So
That Dennis retired, but
does anyone want to propose to upzone these to VC2? Does that make sense?
But
Please, Allison?
they're not in the,
To
they're
add,
not
to
in it
add
now.
them.
No, no, no.
What do you mean they're not in it?
They're not green, they're not anything.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah, this is
right, there's a
adding.
proposal
to
to
add them.
add them to
I
the
see,
district.
I see.
Yeah.
But nobody has moved that.
I'm asking,
Oh,
is
I see.
anyone wanting to move this?
I would move the two parcels closest to the large building, which is HRRS property,
Okay,
the large building.
so Counselor Leary, do we have an address on those?
227 and 185.
Correct.
Counselor Leary is proposing to move 227 and 185, is that Galen Street?
No,
No, that's Charles
Momentum.
Bank, part of Charles Bank Road.
Charles
where-
Bank
Yeah,
Road.
where it hits Center Street.
in
Okay.
Washington Street.
To add them into the district as VC2. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any-
Nay.
2 opposed, okay.
3 opposed.
3 opposed, okay, so 5 in favor, 3 opposed, making those VC2.
2 yes.
Okay,
In the third lot, should we vote to remove
we
it?
have no motion on the
Okay.
third lot,
Okay.
so that's out.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have VC3. I'm guessing, but I don't know, so Allison,
Did you
help
do
me out.
VC2 over on, the VC2 that's for Jewett Street, is that just staying the same then?
No one made any proposals
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
So what we have left is, proposing to reduce, VC three to VC two in a lot of places. So, I'm assuming most of that is coming from Counselor Wright?
Yep.
Is there anything from Counselor Leary we could take up?
I'll take them up each one on their, as we talk about them. There's some that I agree with and some that I don't.
Okay, since, I'm gonna ask you then, because if you agree with, go ahead,
No, go ahead, you go ahead, you have a good theory.
Okay.
If you agree with them, it
Then
would
the-
simplify life to know what they are.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna ask, so if you can say what you agree with, and we can take those up separately and then do the rest.
Okay, that's not the way I organize my work.
I can do an easy one, I'm
But
gonna
we don't know how to
withdraw.
divide it without that, so,
I'll do an easy one, and I'll withdraw my VC2 for the Y. It's a big lot. It's
I
down
know
at the
where the
bottom.
Y is, okay, so this will stay.
That was one of them that
Okay.
I wanted to stay as VC three.
Okay, all right, so that's,
I'll withdraw it.
we're withdrawing that, and there's no motion, no change, okay. Anything else? Counselor Wright, you're keeping the rest, so Counselor Leary, do we just wanna go, I don't know, it'd be more efficient to do it as in groups, but I don't know which to.
The red that's proposed, the VC three that's proposed, I'm okay with. And I thought there were some other ones that were being added in, or.
No, but nobody's moved it.
No? Okay, so in that case, Counselor Wright, I'm sorry, Counselor Ryan.
I'm just, we're back across Washington Street at the Circle of Death and down Washington Street.
Yeah, sorry, there were a couple that, let me clarify. The front, if we're going on the north side of Washington Street, there are some properties, like behind Honda Village, for example, on Avon Place, that I do think should be VC two. Okay?
Can you identify them? Avon Street, and can we go to the map with the street names?
Yeah.
I think Avon Place.
These
Yes.
three.
Yes, those three.
Yeah, there are some homes on that Avon, the other side of Avon Place.
Yes.
They're looking at a disgusting mess right now. It'd be nice to have it better.
And that street is very narrow.
Okay, I'm not sure what you just said. There's a disgusting mess
No, I mean,
right
it's a
where,
parking lot, it's,
those 3 lots are parking lots.
yeah, but it's just horrible.
And so,
Needs to be cleaned up.
well, we're not cleaning up lots.
No, I think if it became something else, it would be good.
You mean we should add it into the?
Yes.
We should
VC2.
add it into the district.
Wait, it's already in the
It's
district.
already in
As a VC3.
Change it from VC three to
VC2.
I'd be okay with that.
Sorry.
Okay, all right, can we outline the sites that are being proposed as downsizing to VC2, those 3?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, boy, and they're on Avon Place, and are there numbers?
They're all vacant. They're all owned, I think, by the.
So we're gonna take
One's
lots that are.
12 to 14 Avon Place, the other one just says Avon Place. And the other
Okay.
one is Thornton with no address.
So we're gonna take 3 parking lots that are owned by the building that faces Washington
It's
Street.
Honda Village.
Honda Village, and we're gonna propose that they be down zoned, so they're a different zone from the Honda Village site.
Yes.
So the motion is to take those 3 sites and down zone them from VC3 to VC2. Okay.
Isn't that all the
ready?
same owner?
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
If they stayed as VC three, but they're across the street from all those houses, that they wouldn't have the 50-foot setback because they're across the street?
Street might give them the
I'm
50
not
feet.
sure if Avon Place is a private way or not. You have to double check.
Okay. So whose motion is this?
It was my motion. I didn't-
Councilor Leary is
Yes.
proposing to downzone these 3 lots. VC3 to VC2, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. we got it. Is there anything else like that?
Yes.
Okay, where are we?
Thornton Street, 42 and 44.
Can we have the street names, please, again?
42 and 44 Thornton
Got it.
Street.
Where's the-
It's a similar situation where there's two family houses there
And small lots.
and small lots.
And so you wanna downzone that to VC two, or do you wanna go, what's your proposal? Cause it looks like it's, right here, it's being proposed to go down to VC two, but so is the whole block.
Yeah.
But you just want those two sites to go down to VC two,
Right.
okay? All those in favor of downzoning the two lots on Thornton, from VC three to VC two, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it's 8-0. Okay, two lots facing Thornton Street, got that? Okay. If you need numbers, you can talk to planning, so we can try to go faster here. Councilor Leary, anything else like that?
Yes. I'm looking at 32 Channing Street.
Yeah.
And 21 through 23 Peabody Street.
Just those two?
Yes.
Okay.
To go to VC2.
So there's a step down. VC two.
2027 is the two-family also on Peabody.
25, 27?
Oh, yeah, 25, 27.
Yeah.
But are we doing just these two lots, or you wanna do
Also these two.
also those two?
Yeah, they're two families as well, so I was a little concerned about that. So I'll make a motion to downzone those to VC2.
Okay, Jacqueline, do you have those four properties? Do you know where we are?
Yes, I do know.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to downzone to VC two, those four lots, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions? Okay,
Well, can I just ask, what about the corner lot between the ones we just downzoned?
Where there's a this lot?
No,
No.
on
We left
behind
out in the
Washington
back there.
Street.
Hold on a sec, finish this up.
Yeah. You're talking about this lot,
Yes. Is that on a street or is that attached to the,
31 Channing Street. It's a BU1 commercial building
I see,
right now.
okay.
But it abuts a single-family house.
Lots of conditions. Business abuts residential.
I was thinking, you don't want that to be VC two and then you have a strip of VC two across back there?
I think so.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Allison.
Yes.
So the Channing, is that the?
31 Channing.
34 Channing Street, VC3 to VC2, yes. 34, 31 Channing Street.
31?
31.
31,
That's
yes.
31.
are these in
Yes.
business districts?
It is in a business zone.
Okay.
Are all the residentials in business as well?
No, all those residentials are business districts, so they
Yeah.
don't have the,
They are. That's what we said. They're in
They
Right,
business
that's what I
zones.
wanna know, we
Yes.
know what it means, but that's not what we've been doing throughout the rest of the city, I just need to say that, so.
Well, it's still
in
being
terms of
zoned
consistency.
VC2.
Yeah.
yeah.
VC two would still
Well-
be business, okay,
The thing about the corner is that they have a lot of residential tightly embedded with the commercial corridor.
Yeah.
And I just wanna make sure that there is some step down
Right.
in the
Got it.
gradual movement from VC3 to
Okay.
VC2 to MR2.
got it,
I'm trying to be consistent with that.
So
got it,
this third, I think you were
Okay,
talking about this,
that's
this
different.
site, right?
Yeah,
never mind.
31.
All right, so,
So should I make
Do we
that
have
motion,
another
or do you wanna
motion?
make that motion? To make 31 VC two as well?
This parcel.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
that parcel is, can you say the address of that parcel?
31
31
Channing.
Channing.
Okay, the motion is from Councilor Leary to reduce it from VC three to VC two. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, okay. That does it. Are we done with this? I'm looking at all small properties sort of in a similar location being reduced to VC two to step down to the neighborhoods.
I'd like to do the Walgreens, the second half of the Walgreens, because that abuts, it still would be a VC2, but it abuts a residential.
Where are you?
That's at Hovey Street. There's a
Yeah.
big parking lot behind it that abuts residential, and it's right across the street from Sunrise on the other side of Hovey Street.
Yep, but VC2 is still 3.5 stories.
3.5 stories, we have 3.5 stories sometimes in our neighborhoods. We don't allow it anymore, but we do have it. So,
Is anybody moving?
I'm moving it.
Okay.
okay, all those in favor of, and what is the name, so it's Hovey Street number?
28.
28 Hovey Street. Reducing it from VC three to VC two, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The 3 in favor? Okay, all opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? Okay, it's 3 to 5. That one fails. It stays VC three. Okay, any other individual lots?
Just really quickly, this is one lot now. It just it hadn't been updated in the, so it can't be split.
Is that Sunrise
It's
lot?
it's the Sunrise
yeah.
lot, so it's either all VC3 or all VC2. Just if you want to move that.
Well, it's already built.
It's already.
It is.
And the back of it is gonna perpetually be a park.
Right, it's deed
Yeah.
restricted on a special permit.
Yes, so, I would say that I'm okay with that staying VC three, and it's already a 4-story building, and it's brand new.
Can I make an include that?
I'm just so it's one lot.
Oh,
Just
okay.
and I can put a no if no one's moving it.
Or is anybody gonna move anything else?
We're gonna
Yep.
do no Nantum. Councilor Baker, I'm sorry, we have to finish
You
tonight.
have to, you.
They've
go
gotta
right ahead.
get their material out the door tomorrow, so I
That's
feel,
fine.
yeah.
So there's nothing there. I'm assuming.
All right, so are we, is there a motion to change that then? No. There's no motion, we're gonna leave that as is.
So really, you just have Washington Street.
Wait. I want to do Center Street, 427, 473. That's already just 2 stories and move it to VC2, which would be 3.5 stories.
Okay, hold on, can we, yeah, I think,
Let's just finish that.
let's finish Washington Street,
Okay.
okay? Cause we have, it's sort of the rest of Washington Street and going down Galen Street. Can we do it all at once?
Yeah.
All those in favor, so there is a motion from Councilor Wright, I believe, to reduce as mapped the rest of the properties along Washington Street and down Galen Street. From
Which,
VC
can you
through,
circle the properties that,
everything that hasn't been voted yet.
Anything that's left?
to downzone all of that?
Yep,
Yeah.
and that's
Anything
who
that's got
Council,
blue
Which is
around it.
4 stories.
that's Councilor Wright, so there's already,
There's already 4 stories there.
yeah. I mean, those buildings are huge.
I don't wanna downzone a 4-story building to VC2.
But there's other buildings that are only 2 stories on Washington. Okay,
Okay.
Washington only. Okay.
But I think,
Yep.
can we take this as a
Yes.
block, cause I
Yep.
think there's
Take it as
no
a
other
block.
little 2-family houses or anything, so.
Yep.
All those in favor of reducing from VC three to VC two, the rest of the map along Washington Street and down Galen Street, please
Wait.
say.
No, not down Galen. I
Isn't
want to
that
do
You're just talking about the right, the corner
Oh,
lot.
2 corner.
the
Okay,
wraps
because the
around.
other ones, there's 2 stories down Galen.
That's the Starbucks and, right? That's
And
what
on the
you're
right is the, just do Washington Street. Just do Washington
But
Street.
those buildings do go into Galen Street, but okay.
Just on the corner.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
No. Abstentions? Okay, all those stay the same. So now you wanna go down Galen Street?
Yeah, so
as
2
individual.
Still Center Street there.
or Center
Or
Street.
Galen until you get to Watertown.
So 280 and 276, it's on the east side of Center Street. They're just 2-story buildings there.
Oh, it doesn't turn to Galen yet? Okay.
No,
not
not
to
into
Watertown.
Watertown. So on the east side there, And then it goes into the neighborhood back there. I'd like to see VC2, which is twice as tall as what's there right now.
Okay, so are you, those are the ones you're circling, or your
Yeah.
proposals?
Yeah, and the next lot is a parking lot.
So those are medical office buildings now, right?
Yep, just 2 stories. But
Yeah.
VC2 would allow up to 4 stories.
And behind it is a apartment complex, 45 Jefferson Street.
How many
How
stories?
tall is that?
It's not,
No, it's an old Victorian or.
no, but it has all these
house.
apartments
3
behind
stories,
it.
yeah.
It's 3 stories.
No, okay.
But
Is there a
VC2
motion?
allows 4 stories.
Do we have a motion, folks?
Yes.
Oh, Councilor Greenberg has her hand up.
Counselor Greenberg, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I support them staying VC3.
Thank you. And for your brevity. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion from Counselor Wright to take all the rest of the properties going down Center Street in Newton before we get to Galen Street. Sorry about that. All the rest of these properties.
Both on both sides of Center Street.
On both sides
Yeah,
of
I'll do
Center
both.
Street.
We'll just do it all together. We
As
know where it's gonna happen.
going from VC3 to VC2, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
No.
Okay, it's 2 to 6, oh, no abstentions, right? Okay, that was a pretty firm no. Okay, we're done with Newton
No,
Corner.
no.
Oh,
We gotta go on the other side of the pipe.
oh, right, okay, sorry, just this tiny bit. All right, there's several,
4 parcels.
can we just take this as a motion
Take
from
them as a-
Counselor Wright?
No, I wanna split it because they're 2 different sizes. So the ones on the west side, on the left side, are just 2-story buildings right now.
Face the pike.
Face the pike, right?
Yeah, but they're then facing VC2 and their parking lot, oh, that's a
And
city
there's a
parking
big
lot.
parking
Yeah, it's
lot,
a
behind
city
Richardson
lot.
Street City Lot is right behind it.
Yeah, city lot is behind.
I almost kind of saw that as like a small Austin Street.
VC2 is 4-story height, so I'm making that motion.
Okay.
It's not directly.
VC2 is 3.5.
Okay, we don't need, I think we
The
know how we're
height
gonna vote.
is 4 stories.
Can we vote?
Yep.
We have a motion from Counselor Wright to reduce those 2 properties on Center Street at the Pike, from VC3 to VC2. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2, all those opposed?
No.
Okay, no, is for me too, and that's 2 to 6.
I was saying how we were ready to vote when we were talking about Auburndale.
You were ready to vote on Newton Corner when
Well,
we
I
were
mean,
talking about Auburndale.
there was a lot of discussion that was going
You
on.
take them all or-
Yep, okay, we got 2 more sites, folks.
Yeah.
Counselor Wright would like to downzone these 2 VC3 sites along the Pike. The last 2 sites, from VC3 to VC2, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Well,
All
that's
those opposed?
benchmark in a big.
Okay, can we, all,
Counselor Gentile and Counselor Markowitz were talking the whole time, and I make a few
Counselor-
comments.
Counselor Berry, I thought you wanted to move.
I do, but
We're ready to, we're
I'm much
defeating
less
it.
loquacious than any of my other.
You absolutely
right
are.
now.
Are,
As the night gets longer, then the sentences have to get shorter.
okay, we took 2 votes in favor, all those opposed? Nay.
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 Any abstentions? Okay, that's also 2 to 6.
I will shorten the discussion
Now
by
we're
leaving.
done.
And so, I think we know where we're going. If the board council's support the change, it's gonna happen. If it doesn't, it's not. So I leave it to my colleagues with the assumption that they will sort this out, and more knowledgeable than I.
So, Counselor Baker, have a nice
I
rest.
have a little oral surgery, so I'm doing it.
Oh,
No, that's all right. It's better than the alternative.
Yeah, all right, well, good luck with that. All right, we're in Nonantum. There's very few changes proposed to Nonantum. First of all, is there
There
anyone?
are our proposals, if you look at this. If you look at this, on all of them, there's quite a few.
I'm a visual person. Every single one of those sites is outlined here. I get it. So, there's only 2
I have a proposal.
things that are happening.
And that were in, and they're in the Nonantum. I thought we were gonna be going through all these amendments, but.
We are. We are doing that.
We can get through them.
It's just that we're looking at it on the map and you're looking at a list.
Because that's where I put my notes, where I said I was
That's
gonna
fine.
vote.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. So, but we're gonna go outside in, and we have a proposal to expand the MRT district. Does anyone want to make that motion? It's the only thing on the map that is, it starts at Nevada Street and
Barrow,
goes,
it's Barrow, Terrace, Court, maybe?
first I wanna know, is there a motion to expand the MRT district from anyone?
Yes.
Okay, then we should look at the addresses. So there's this area to the west, it's Nevada Street, wraps the corner on Watertown Street. Can we expand that map so we can see a little bit? Okay.
It's all of these parcels here.
It's the two, it's actually like the, 17, 19, 18 Borough Court.
Right.
And, 352, 360 Nevada Street.
Yep, 472, 474 Watertown, 468, 470.
Okay, can we list these properties for Jacqueline a little bit slower? Please?
Where do you want to start?
It doesn't matter.
I'm getting them labeled, I can look them up afterwards.
You can? Okay,
Yes.
so we're gonna list all these properties in this.
What's the building that's 471 across the street?
That's a big commercial building.
Okay.
That's the one that's involved in the TCE contamination.
Oh, okay.
It's a VC two
So you got
zone.
1, 2,
And a lot
3.
of the underlying zone, all the underlying zoning for these lots is, MR, right?
I think it might be a
There's some of them are business.
It's a mixed
Oh,
bag.
business and, okay, B1?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to expand the district this way, but as MRT lots?
Right.
Okay, all those in favor of expanding into these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lots as noted and drawn, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Oppose.
Opposed, one opposed, any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay, and one abstention, so we have 6 to,
No, 5.
oh, right? Counselor Baker's gone, 5 to 1.
I'll move for Counselor Baker.
No, sorry, you can't do that. Okay, okay, so we expanded the district to MRT. To the far east,
Yep.
there's a proposal to expand the district by adding a VC2 lot
Correct.
on Washington, facing Washington
That's
Street.
290,
This
290 Watertown Street.
is. Sorry.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
290 Watertown.
okay. The proposal is from Counselor Leary?
No.
Oh, it's not, I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't approve that proposal.
It's
My
from
pro-
it's from the property owner.
Ah.
I would make a motion to convert it to MRT.
And what is it now?
It's zone BU1,
It's BU1 and
which I
there,
don't
it's
know
a,
why it's not
it's a
showing up there.
two-family house that's currently being proposed to put 5 units in.
Okay, and what's the advantage of making it MRT?
Well, MRT incentivizes smaller units.
Than what's being proposed?
Yes.
Okay, the proposal is to, so it's outlined in blue, that's from,
That was the proposal from the property owner.
okay, all right, so now Counselor Leary's motion is to include this in the district as an MRT zone. Okay? Everybody all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that carries 7 to 0. Interesting, okay. All right, so now,
So he could have 6 units there now.
If it keeps the
You
building.
tore it down the building. Yeah.
the last thing,
He's gonna tear it down here.
and Counselor Leary, I know it's a lot of addresses, but the last piece here is that someone has proposed to upzone from VC2 to VC3 along Watertown Street. I don't know the numbers in these, but we
I
see it on
do.
the map.
But I will just say that those are a lot of auto shops, parking lots, and some small one-story buildings. I identified it as the only really suitable place in Northampton for VC3.
And are you moving it?
I'm moving it, yes.
And I see Councilor
I
Greenberg.
don't think Councilor Greenberg agrees with me.
Councilor Greenberg, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I thought this would be a good discussion to have to possibly do VC3, but after some thought, I've decided to support VC2 there.
Okay.
Support what?
Keeping it as VC2.
Okay.
Councilor Kritzman?
I appreciate the motion from Councilor Leary. My concern about VC3 is really the transportation infrastructure there. I'm not sure that's suitable and can handle it. I mean, we're just looking at Washington Street, no real transit there. So, I don't know, I think fairly consistently in other places. Excuse me, Watertown Street. You know, we've taken areas like that and made them VC2. So, I think it looks like like areas on the other maps that we made VC2.
It's a very walkable area. There is bus service there. It's close to the DCR walking, biking trail, and it's walking distance to Watertown Square, which offers express bus service downtown and the 71 bus into Harvard Square. So yes, it's not on the green line, but I'm not gonna fall on my sword here for this, but I would throw it out as, I thought it would be consistent, for those reasons.
What's behind, on the north?
big mill
side?
building.
Pardon?
Mill building.
Oh, the mill building.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
not abutting any
Right.
residential, that's
Right,
the other thing.
no, I hear your point now.
So, and it really, I mean, I know Councilor Greenberg has been talking about how we have 6 auto body shops and most of them are right in that area. And, I would like to see something else go in there at some point, maybe it's 60 years down the road. But however, I will, I
would
support it.
Can you just say what's on the south side, what's behind those? I see there's some
My
MRT.
mechanic, liquor store,
Yeah.
dry cleaners.
Dion's Liquors is on that
That
side.
one on the west side, what's behind that? It's a park?
There is
Yeah.
Pellegrini Park is
Yeah.
right
Commercial.
on the corner of Watertown and Hawthorne Street. Which area are you talking about though?
The green there is the park.
Yeah, the green, it's part, the Bunsen Park.
Yeah, see the park, there's a collision, business there, right next to the park. You could smell the solvents as you're walking down there.
With VC2, the height is still 4 stories.
Okay, I'll withdraw it and go with VC2.
Okay.
Well, what, could you split it up and have one, that side versus this side?
Well,
She can withdraw the motion if she wants.
I didn't say the other side. I'm
Oh.
just, that's not what I'm proposing.
What are you proposing?
I'm only proposing the north side.
Okay.
And it's not from Adam Street either. No, I'm not proposing that whole thing.
Can you
Tell us what you're
tell us what you're proposing?
I'm proposing, if you start from the bottom of the screen, this one, the one behind it. That's it.
Oh. So who proposed the rest?
What was that? I don't know. Was that?
Okay.
I did.
No, there's no way you did.
Well, I was just walking down there today.
Okay, so we have 4 lots. Can we know what the addresses are for those 4 lots? Sure we get this right.
I thought they were like 421.
You got 451, 441,
Yeah.
425 and 433, and 423.
Wait a minute, that's 5 lots.
No, there's one, 425 and 433 is one lot.
That lot's over 30,000 square feet, isn't it?
Looks like it's just over.
But they could subdivide it.
They could.
Doesn't look like like it has
smaller
enough
buildings.
frontage.
Doesn't have enough frontage.
Why don't you?
There's no frontage requirement.
Zach,
Yeah, no
why
frontage
don't you go to
required.
Google Maps and show what that looks like?
The puddle.
They would have no access though.
That's what was, that's where the,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, that's
if you
lovely.
go, can you get above view?
I can't stand losing that.
Can you just,
All right, folks.
it's all
parking lot.
pavement.
Okay,
Okay.
There's some hands up on the top.
all right, so we have a couple people who wanna speak. Counselor Oliver, Ward 1.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for coming into this conversation late. Finance ran late. Just a couple of comments in terms of these lots that are proposed going to VC3. I'm going to restrict kind of my purview here and not make comparisons, because I heard earlier too many comparisons across wards that I don't think are VCs that I don't think are really necessary here. However, Nonantum is already a significantly densely populated village and village center. I can't help but look at this. I mean, I think it's the second most populous village that we have behind Newtonville, if I remember my numbers correctly. We are already proposing, before we upzone these particular lots and on the north and south side, we're already considering significant upzoning here. I can't help but think that upzoning these even further to VC3 is starting to approach something close to punitive for some reason. I'm flabbergasted that these are being proposed as VC3.
Okay, so you don't support the motion?
I don't have many strong feelings about it, to be honest, but no, I mean, let's face it, like, these are not going to be considered within, they don't qualify for MBTA, right? These units, whatever is created here.
Counselor Oliver, do you support the motion?
I do not support the motion, but I wasn't done speaking. I think a couple minutes is probably warranted, given that this is my backyard. So I also would like to point out that while there are several bus lines that do run through Nonantum, further upzoning here, I think it should be restricted for areas that are on one of our train lines, whether that's the T or the commuter rail. Continuously upzoning Nonantum is unwarranted, in my opinion. No strong opinions other than that. So thank you for the couple of minutes. Appreciate it.
Okay, Counselor Bowman. Sorry, I have to stretch.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
At all.
No. She is speaking,
You're
I can
muted.
hear her.
Well, we can hear her, but it's very hard to hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Sorry about that. So I'm going to be real quick. I feel oppositely from Councilor Oliver that I don't think this is punitive. I think that this is an opportunity, and it might not need to be VC3, and it might be able to get done at VC2. But if you look at these properties, these are not village center properties. These are properties that look like they're on the side of Route 9. People are backing in and out of parking lots, across the sidewalk and into the roadway, putting pedestrians and bicyclists and other vehicles at risk. And what I would question is whether VC2, if you're taking a building from a currently two-floor building to a 3.5-story building is going to be enough of an incentive for a building owner to rehab the building, and that would be the reason you might want to consider VC3. But I think that is the real consideration here: is what do you need to zone these for to make this part of the village like the rest of the very charming village center of Nonantum? Because this section of Nonantum is the stepchild to the section further to the east. So that's what I think you should consider. Maybe it's too late tonight to to think about this and just make it VC2, because that's what seems to make everybody happy, but I think I would seriously consider what options you would need to do to make this a better village center. Because this isn't about MBTA zoning. This section is really about making this connection better and connecting this to Pellegrini Park. It seems a shame that you're in a beautiful part of Nonantum and then you have a dangerous streetscape to walk down to get to a beautiful park. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bowman. Can we move the motion? Okay, I'm just gonna say it's too late for me to make changes in the map, so I'm not gonna support this particular motion, but I understand it. All those in favor of upzoning these 4 lots from VC2 to VC3, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4. All those opposed?
No.
No.
3 opposed, you win. Okay, so that's 4 in favor, 3 opposed, and I'm gonna take it therefore that the other sites, the other parcels that are outlined in red proposed to go up to VC3 there's no motion for those?
No.
Okay, so those are off the table, they will all remain VC2. VC2. Okay.
No, down below.
Nope.
Nope, we're done.
We did that?
We did that.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep. Go from outside in, we're all done. So folks,
We're done.
we are done with the maps.
Good work, everybody.
As we know, just so everybody who's listening, if there's anybody there, and there are apparently, the public hearing will go forward on the 9/26, 7 p.m. Start time. It will be hybrid, it will be in chambers and online. Hope folks will come in, that would be great to see people. The package is going out tomorrow with a notice, and I think
It's gonna be online, Councilor Crossley, just to.
the package is gonna be online.
Correct.
Text and map.
Okay, when that happens, could you please send links through the clerk's office to the council?
Sure.
That would be great, maybe along with the notice, that might be, or at least I'd like to see the notice, I don't know if anybody else would like to see the notice.
So
Okay,
just to
thank you.
clarify, that's gonna be version 3,
Version 3.
3.0.
Version 3.
The map and the text.
and you can
Okay.
get that out tomorrow?
They've
You
been
don't have a
waiting.
choice.
If you let us out of here tonight.
Yeah. You're excused. So thank you everyone, for sticking it out tonight and getting this done, because it is obviously critical for tomorrow. And I know people feel really strongly about their villages and, but we're gonna have more chances to deliberate this again to the degree that people are gonna continue to put, amendments forward. Both in committee after the public hearing and in council. So
Do
we
you
have our,
think the hearing will be on the 26th?
I have no idea. We're gonna favor people who haven't spoken yet, because the amendments that have been made have been, pretty well controlled. I mean, it's, and we are gonna summarize the amendments. I've been keeping track, but of course, we're gonna have a memo that summarizes the amendments very quickly and both in text and that, and then there will be a brief presentation before the public hearing summarizing the significant changes, and I think we know what it's gonna look like. Okay? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it's, big surprise, unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody, good night, good night.
Good night, everybody.